Recording.
All right. We've got people on remote anyway, so it works. Four so far.
Sit there and I'll sit over next
Some are more beautiful than others.
No, well, we get public participation.
I could be remote, I probably would be under a fan or something.
Based on the,
activist you?
I don't know, I mean, if you get 50 people and they each have a minute, that's 50 minutes.
Is the heat on in here? Is the heat on in here? We don't know if you make it Can we open one of the outer doors?
Can't you turn the heat off?
You'd think we could, but it's locked in there. It's
All that money for fuel oil.
right.
Your kids' cookies are in the bag for the rest of it.
Okay.
Back there.
Oh yeah, that would be it. It doesn't actually anymore. I think that we can. I don't know if we use it prop.
Well, we can get it, Rob.
It goes off to number 5.
I have to find out.
I can do that. I'll be back.
That's your wife? Hmm? I thought it was you there. That's your wife. That's the same, London scheme you had the last weekend.
She's trying to figure out how to get the power socket up. She's trying to figure out how to connect her PC so it's not without the command.
So, we have to keep the outside door open too, just to get some ventilation going. And it won't come up here. But I can feel it already, just because she opened the door.
Yeah, it's a little bad.
That's a right small number. No, but it's sent out on Facebook.
Up the range right there. So. What's up, Owl?
I would say this room has to be around, you know, comfortably.
Oh, yes, yes. Look at her. I'll hold it in case you have it.
What is the
See, don't sit there. You gotta have something.
It's either left or
I stopped.
It'll wait to see this. There is there, yeah. Is the lady in the place?
He's working as the chief there. Oh, he's the chief. Hey, you want something? I'm good. How you saw the lady? You saw her? What's up, good? No, I'm good. So.
Dave Maxwell.
Yes, I apologize if I don't have name. I can do that. I just need a quick check if my sound works. All right, so it sounds like we got it. So I originally thought I was going to have 45 minutes.
Yeah, right.
You might need to cut back to 30 or maybe less. And I said, well, I don't want to try to do training, and that's not enough time, and it would look bad to do sort of not a proper job. So I brought you
Looks like that wall is blue right now.
And what are the kinds of
In the community room of the library.
choices and things that need to pick up? And
Kind of a slate blue.
so I don't have enough minutes. Is there any way Okay. Who would do that? Yeah, can they do it now? Is there anybody here?
I know, that's what she just said.
To advance the slides.
Well, there's 23 of us online.
Sorry, did someone just say something about, hello?
Yeah, that's what's called the owl.
Owl? Yeah, but I just heard someone saying something about the people online.
Did it share in the way that it didn't share to the
Maybe not.
I'm trying to remember, we've had that before, where you just
Are you comfortable? We'll have to make a contact.
That's fine, but I'm gonna share my PowerPoint so people online can see it as well.
When we introduce you, we'll make that.
I think that's what getting set now.
So that when you start, some of these people have. Okay. That's good. No, I think you have something else to
All right, thank you everybody for being here. It's a little after 7. I gave the audience a little extra time to venture in. I invite you to sign the sign-in sheet over there on next to the windows. We're going to, obviously we've got a big crowd here tonight, so we are going to start with the upholding, the roll call. Everybody, well, first off, we're going to open the meeting for the 22nd of April special, regular select board meeting. We have a roll call and everybody is here. We're going to adjust the agenda and I'll explain that in a little bit. The first article on the agenda is upholding municipal code of ethics and commitment to non-prejudicial treatment. The town of Northfield, through the select board, is committed to upholding a code of ethics and commits to non-prejudicial treatment in the workplace. Accountability demands we investigate, identify, and eliminate hatred and bigotry where they exist. Does the board have anything to add to that? Hearing nothing, then I'm going to introduce, Jeff, would you like to introduce Salani?
Shalini.
Yes, so we're fortunate to have Selene here from the state.
Shalini.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Here from the state to talk with the select board about DEI planning options, and also discuss potential future training, DEI training. We're fortunate you're here. I know we planned this, was it back in February we started chatting with you and setting this up?
I think
So-
Mary actually reached out to me in December.
Okay, yeah, so, yeah, fortunately, it's been an effort in the making for a long time, and again, we're so grateful that you're here to help us with this process.
Thank you so much for having me. Originally, when we talked, I think the idea, and hello to all the people from Northfield. I'm really happy to be here and happy to get a chance to meet and chat with so many of you. The plan originally was that I would come in and do the first training around DEI, the first of others that you would be having. But due to some changes that have happened, I think we had to adjust the agenda, so the amount of time that was going to be available wasn't going to be quite as much as we had planned initially. I decided, rather than trying to cram a training into not enough time, we would use the time to talk about some ways that you can design an equity training plan for the board and even for the staff. I know that Northfield has signed the Declaration of Inclusion, so that's a really beautiful way that you're telling the community and anyone who wants to come to the community that it's going to be a welcoming place. And so I think this
Viewers online, if you could make sure you're muted, please.
Yes, for those folks that are online, please, if you're muted until you're recognized to speak.
Somebody might, Jeff, you might have to be that one.
Sorry about all this. Yeah.
Will Chamberlain's rookie season takes you to 9,200. Sarah and Kyle have a comeback to make.
That's okay.
No. When we come back. Lots of
There we go.
Okay, I feel like we were kind of spying
I
on
haven't
someone.
parked in this lot in 2 years.
Another one already?
I don't think I've ever parked here. I
Do you
did
have a
when I
way
was
to
in
just
South,
mute
because I
all?
would just go up that trail.
Well, yeah, that's easy.
There should be, but.
They
should be upstairs. They should.
How many?
All right.
Knock
Quiet.
on wood.
Yeah, so our office, so I come from our state office of racial equity, and we do a lot of training and education around diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. There's a lot of letters in the alphabet that show up nowadays in those acronyms. Accountability, accessibility, there's lots. So at the end of the day, we like to say that we do work that promotes equity. And rather than doing one-off trainings here and there, which really doesn't move the needle, because people come to those trainings and they're very well intentioned, and after the training they're all excited about something, but as they get back into their daily routine of work, a few weeks down the line there's another budget crisis or another deadline for something, and equity quickly falls off the priority and disappears. And not that they don't want or that they don't care about it, but it's not baked into the work yet. And so what we think is going to be more effective is if we can engage groups like leadership from towns, cities, villages, any size municipality to join us in a program that we created. It's called Ideal Vermont, and IDEAL is an acronym. Inclusive, diverse, equitable action leadership. And action is the key word, believe it or not, in all of those. Because
Please mute.
So you're giving up on game-ish?
I just can't really find anything that I want to do, and whenever I wear my headphones.
Doesn't make sense.
I think you're right. Do you want to click on more and see if you can just mute all?
Bottom right in the middle.
Whereabouts?
On the bottom right, like down here where it says more.
We're gonna mute the online community for the purpose
Does
of.
it say mute all?
So we can hear Shaw, but up and show.
Oh, sorry, host tools.
The green in the middle.
Oh, yeah, yep,
Darn it.
Is anybody?
Well, I'm gonna keep going.
Unmute themselves, if you, I think if you click the unmute themselves, it means that they can't unmute themselves.
Oh,
Then we'd have to manually unmute them, I think.
Okay.
did you see that? It was in the list you just had up.
Participants or?
It was in
Nope,
the
it was in the host tools. There's one item that says unmute themselves. That one right, oops, where did it go?
Right at the bottom to the right.
Oh,
I can read it from here.
you can read it.
Unmute that one.
Where is it, Matt?
Oh, there you go.
All right, we'll
Oh,
try
yeah, there
again.
it is. On the
Dan, if it
bar.
doesn't work, would you take charge of muting people?
I see the mute all now.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. So I was saying, so one of the things we realized is doing one-off trainings, the short-term things were not gonna have a deep effect. So we had crafted a proposal, actually our executive director, Susanna Davis, crafted a proposal, and the legislature funded a program, Ideal Vermont. And I told you action is the key letter in there, because the goal in having the program, we have invited towns, cities, villages from across Vermont to join. And once you join, you are in it for as long as you want to be in it. You can have 1 to 3 members of your town leadership attend the meetings, the trainings, but then each year you can rotate who is attending. So different people can get trained. You can put in a police chief, a school superintendent, a select board member, and then the next year it can be a town manager, a hospital administrator, people who can affect policies and procedures and maybe even legislation are the ones we want to come to the table. And that's not to say that we don't value and care very much about the DEI groups, community groups and things like that, but they actually are the choir for us. They already know a lot of the things that we want to share. So what we want to do is help the leadership learn how to navigate and work together really well with those groups so that you can get things done. And at the end of the day, I think what is really important to us about the program, so we've been running the program now for over a year, and we're really looking to see what are the outcomes, what are people getting done as a result. And I'll just give you one example. We also helped work with other groups in the state to create a grant program around recreation. And Glover, one of the communities that's a member of Ideal Vermont, they applied for a grant to create a sensory trail. Anybody ever heard of a sensory trail? Mm-hmm. Yes? So this is a trail that no matter what abilities you have, you should be able to enjoy it. For example, it's set up so even if you're in a wheelchair, there are activities and the trail is wide enough and you'll be able to get around. If you happen to be deaf, there are sections of the trail that are all about sensory. So they're about touching different things and feeling what this kind of sand feels like versus this kind of grit and so on. So the sensory things. They just have, for another group of people, if you're blind, they have these different kinds of wind chimes. They had things you could build. They had things you could slide down. It was amazing. So that was a really nice example of how they created a park, a sensory trail that not only did the people who have any disability or any sensory issue enjoy, everybody was enjoying it. And that was really the idea. We find that when you do it right, equity, everybody benefits. Everybody gets something out of what was built. And so that's an example of something that our ideal member from our ideal cohort came up with. Other groups did things like we had set up a program for grants from the Vermont Community Foundation for our ideal members. So they got a grant and they used it to get a person to come in and do an equity audit of what's going on and what could they do in their town government. So I mean, there's lots of different ways to approach that. Now, I talk about joining, but it's not that easy to join. There's actually an application process. We have an interview. You have to take a readiness quiz. And the interview is with everybody who you're planning to have participate, and often we'll ask for additional members of the board. So there's a process. One of the things that really helps people get approved to join is if you have signed the Declaration of Inclusion in your community, which is a check for Northfield. You've done that. Another is if you've attended the Welcoming and Engaging Communities program that's hosted by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And it looks like I saw some nods. Have you already done that?
No. We're aware, I'm aware of it. But I haven't.
You're aware of it. Okay. So that might be the kind of program that I think if you were able to do that, I actually brought some, I think if you were able to do that, you would be positioning yourself as ready to apply to our Ideal Vermont program. Here is just a snapshot document that tells you a little bit about the difference between our Ideal Vermont program and the Welcoming and Engaging program, which we see them as sort of sister programs. Welcoming and Engaging, I just have a few more. I guess I'll leave them here if anyone would like a copy. Welcoming and Engaging Communities is a 6-month-long program. And our Ideal Vermont program, once you're in, you are in. So the idea is we will continue to nurture and work with and educate and train the communities that join with us on an ongoing basis. There's a benefit to that because the members of the cohort are town leaders from other communities. Some are the same size, some are very different, but you get to build a network with other town leaders. So if you want a DEI mission statement, you don't have to reinvent that wheel. You just ask the cohort who's got one, And then everyone shares what they've got, and we help each other build on what's out there. So there are tremendous resources that become available. We provide technical assistance. State government people from different offices come in and give you the assistance that you need for different kinds of things, whether it's navigating funds after a flood, to how you make your websites meet the accessibility guidelines that are a federal mandate now. So there are a lot of things that communities need to do. Vermont is a little bit behind schedule in some of these things, so we really want to help move communities into that space. We also provide an amazing array of resources and tools for you to take with you. This is an example. One of the things I know you're trying hard to do is engage with community, and that's the job of every government. To listen to the people, to respond to what they need and what they want. This is an example of a kind of a resource. It's called the Spectrum of Community Engagement to Ownership. And it's from a group called Facilitating Power. It's a really great handout. And it gives you some examples of not just how important it is to hear the community, but how many different ways and times you need to do it. So that it gets woven throughout the process of decision making, and even more importantly, that they're part of the ultimate decision making. So I know something everybody's trying to do is to listen with grace and make sure that people get an opportunity to be heard. And I apologize, I'm not really keeping track of my time. Oh, I think I still have a little bit of time. So I thought if it's all right with you, I'll walk us in. So you've got a couple examples there of things, the kind of things that, one is about the kind of training and education you can get, which, like I said, we're interested in helping you find long-term, ongoing training, and in a way that's useful to you by coming together in a program like Welcoming and Engaging Communities. Their focus during the 6 months is on collecting data about your community so that you learn better what's going on in the demographics of your community, what needs attention. And then by the time you come into Ideal Vermont, we are looking at every kind of equity. We're looking at health equity, education equity, criminal justice, policing equity. We're looking at you name it, it'll come up. So we design the curriculum largely around what the group is telling us is most important to them at any given time. And we're also trying to plan ahead and think about what are you going to need to know down the line. So the thing is, the select board really has to get ready and committed to the idea of rolling up your sleeves, because this is not an exercise in showing up and sitting down and just listening. Like I said, action is the most important word in that program. We're expecting when we give homework, people are going to do it. When we want you to read, it'll be done before the next session. So it's not without its challenges, because I know everybody's busy. It's not like you don't have other responsibilities and priorities, but this is part of why we have the readiness survey. A community has to say, we need this. We want equity. We want to make sure we're doing things in a way that treats everybody right, that brings everybody to the table, and we want to do it well. That's the kind of person, that's the kind of community that we want signing up. So it is intentionally done that way. We don't want the people who just want to check a box and aren't going to do anything. They don't need to bother applying. So this is meant for people who are ready to do the work, because it will take work. It will be extremely rewarding. That sensory trail was an example of how that effort, that time, that energy they put into it, watching the community that showed up on the opening day when they cut the ribbon. Oh my gosh, there was such joy to be had by everybody. So I think like I said, when we do it right, everybody benefits. And so there's a lot that can be gained by the work in this program. I'm gonna try to share, Will this, I'm gonna see, let me know if the people online are able to see this presentation
I don't think they'll be able to speak.
to speak. Oh, right. Good point.
They should be able to chat. But we'll have to check.
Is anybody able to check the chat?
Not right now.
Oh,
I don't think that. Maybe a personal phone will be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not like that, but. You get one bar sitting there.
It's not showing.
it's not showing. Okay, does anybody here know how to share the?
You didn't share the screen.
You have to share
got
the
it.
screen
But
with Zoom.
yes,
You
okay,
started it, but you didn't share it.
got it. Let's go backwards, hang on.
You gotta go back to Zoom.
Okay, oops. Sorry, and where's the,
Right in the middle, green button.
Green
oh,
button with an
so
arrow.
obvious. How am I not?
Now you-
Apologies to everybody for the wait. Oh, and I need to share with sound. Is there a thing about sound? There it is. Let's optimize.
See the Zoom bar at the top.
Yeah, I need to launch this though, so that, how do I get to that? Okay,
Online so they can see it now.
Far bottom.
far bottom.
I got it checked.
Right up, you went right
Oh,
up.
there it is.
Right there.
It's upside down for me. I'm not used to this. Thank goodness you're here. We need to put you on the payroll.
He already is, believe me.
Okay, so I won't take too much time and,
The agenda allows for time.
okay, thank you. If you need though, feel free to interrupt me if we need to wrap. So, okay.
I can't help you.
That's okay. No, that's all right. So, that is the handout that I shared that shows the differences between the two programs that I talked about. And here's an example out of that handout I gave you of the spectrum of community engagement. So I'll read some of this in case it's hard for people to see it or for people in the room who might not have a good view. So these are things to consider for the select board to consider when they try to work on a continuum of engagement, bringing community into the decision making. So when we do that, is it performative? Meaning, to what degree are members of communities included in the decision making? How likely is their feedback to impact final outcomes? Are we tokenizing people by inviting them to share pain and trauma for the sake of it? So it's kind of a reminder to make sure that when we're inviting people and involving people, it's real and it's not just because it looks good or it sounds good. Who counts as part of Vermont's communities? Are there biases against certain groups who might not be invited, whether they're newer to the community, younger, immigrants, state affiliated, poorer, rural, disabled, or other categories? Who routinely gets left out? Do we focus our attention only on Vermonters who don't require accommodations, so it's easier to involve them? I did a training a while ago and somebody was attending who was deaf, and it meant that we needed to arrange for an interpreter. But because it was a long training, there was going to need to be more than one interpreter because the interpreters get exhausted. They're not only trying to listen to what we're saying, they then have to communicate it to the person. And so then they had to have a second interpreter, and it was actually a process. Now, I enjoy doing diversity work, and so for me it was a great learning experience, and it felt very good to be able to do it. But I also recognized the cost was very high, and the time it took to set it up, there's a lot involved. And so I can understand how sometimes not worrying about those things makes it easier to go faster. But not worrying about those things means we're missing important input and information from other parts of our community. And again, everything we do that helps address things for any particular group, like an interpreter, will help everybody in the end, because that person might have a contribution that's going to be really valuable to what we're talking about. Do we truly need to make a new work group for something? That's important. The answer is no. And that happens a lot because we have a work group study something, and then nobody actually reads what they came up with as their final report. So a few years down the road, they create another group to do that kind of thing. So we want to eliminate that kind of repetitious work and maybe get the focus on advancing real things in real ways so that we can then check them off and move on to the next great problem to solve. How are communities encouraged to engage proactively? So that really gets at, are communities engaging more than when they decide to join something? Are they being invited and included in ways that is possible for them to be a part of what we're doing? Like, is the travel distance too far? Is there a gas money issue? Is there childcare issues? Whatever. We need to figure those things out so that we can get full and complete participation. So that's just an example, one tiny little fragment of what's in that booklet. All these kinds of things to help you learn by a playbook of the best case scenarios for how you can do things. And you might not be able to do everything all the time or right away, but you'll have the playbook now. That's just one small example. Those are some additional, okay. DEI training, though, I will tell you, in my field, the experts, the subject matter experts and practitioners will never tell you, if you study this much, you'll be done. So you know how sometimes you'll get a degree, and once you're done, you've got the diploma, and you don't ever have to take another class in that subject again, unless you're something like a doctor who has to take those board exams again or something like that. But most of us, I was in mechanical engineering, most of us don't ever have to take another engineering class, thank goodness. So why in DEI are we saying that is never, you're not going to be done?
Because it changes constantly. Because humans never stay the same.
That is true, but that's true for every field that we study. People are always changing. I'll tell you, let me take the pressure off of you for a minute. So the answer in our field, what many of us believe, is that we will be able to stop worrying about doing DEI trainings and education and learning and thinking about when we reach a state of equity. And by that I mean, when we get to that point in time when you can no longer use something about a person's identity to predict an outcome. Like, for example, if I said, what are the chances that someone on the select board will be a Black female? We might look at the history of who's been on the select board and say the chances are really low based on data to date. But when we get to that point where I say, what are the chances that someone on the select board could be a Black female? And we could say 50-50, our work is done. That means we've reached a point in time where lots of people are getting an opportunity to participate in all different kinds of roles. So that maybe wasn't the best example in the world, but you get the idea. What we're shooting for is, when do we get to a point where you can no longer predict an outcome based on someone's identity? So when we get there, we know we're done. But until we get there, we need to do some work. We need to do a lot of work. And when you think about it, the country was formed, and we've spent about 400 plus years creating a system that has an umbrella of systemic racism. And so undoing that is not going to happen overnight. And I'm hoping it's not going to take 450 more years. I think we can do a little better than that. So the goal, though, is we've got to figure out how to keep the status quo from dragging us back into that system. We have to change things. Really fast, this is just a 1 minute game here. I'm going to show you on the screen, oh, I wish all of you could see this. I'm going to show you some pictures. And I'm going to start by showing you some titles, some job titles. And I want you in your mind to just picture someone doing the job. This isn't tricky. Just the first picture that comes into your mind, go with that. And we're going to go fast, so don't worry, don't overthink it. Here we go. The first one. Picture this person, all right, doing this job. Airline pilot, nanny, basketball player, violinist, weightlifter. All right, you got your pictures? Everybody good? All right. I'm wondering if anybody's picture for the airline pilot looked like this.
They were just in the news.
Could you say what the picture is so folks that can't see?
Sure. The first slide was a picture of two women of color who were pilots. And the second one is two white appearing women who are pilots.
Young.
Young, yes.
Okay,
Good
say
point.
young, 'cause that
Thank
means
you.
something to me.
Add it. I want to hear from you. The second picture is the nanny, a young African-American male. And the third picture is a woman wearing a traditional headdress called a hijab. Thank you. I'm having a day today, people. Thank you for helping me. I'm playing basketball, the basketball player. The violinist is a young African-American male with dreadlocks. And my favorite is the weightlifter, a woman with a lot of years of experience under her belt, under that weight belt, and she's lifted an incredible amount of weight.
Really?
So most of us probably didn't see those pictures that I showed you. And that is okay. I didn't see these pictures either. When I did the exercise and they said airline pilot, I pictured white males because when I was young, all I ever saw were white male pilots. And after that, I've seen over the years other pilots. But the thing about the way our brains work is often it's the early picture that we get that our brain locks onto, and it creates a pairing. This job and this picture. And that's kind of how that unconscious bias can bite us. So people call it implicit bias or unconscious bias. And our brain is really working hard. They say our brain is thinking about 50,000 different thoughts every minute. And that's because our brain is tracking how much light is coming from here, what's the temperature in the room. It's also tracking everything going on in your body. So it's busy, right? It's trying to do the best it can to help you. And these pairings are one of the ways it helps you. So I'm gonna say a word, and I want you to say back to me the word you know I want you to say. Okay? Here we go. Night and hot and young and How did you know what I wanted you to say? You got every single one.
Because you were doing opposites?
Where did we learn that? When did we learn that?
Oh, yeah, like toddlers.
Right. That's exactly right. Kindergarten, preschool, first grade. That's because early childhood educators know that the way kids learn and retain information, the pairing, the same kind of pairing I was talking to you about. So you can't feel bad when you didn't see the pictures that I showed you. You shouldn't feel bad. We grew up with all kinds of pairings. The important thing is to become aware of what are the pairings we have, because that's what can get in the way. That's what can trip us up and lead to that bias, that unconscious bias. So the more we take that unconscious bias and we make it conscious, and we admit we probably have biases, we all have biases, I have biases. The key is figuring them out, knowing what they are, and then knowing how to mitigate them, keep them from getting in your way. So actually, when I said young and, my mom said the restless. So it doesn't work with everybody. This is just a quick picture to give you an idea of how you're getting messages and pairings to this day. So even though it might have started when you were just a tiny child, these are two news stories that came out on the same day during Hurricane Katrina. In the top news story, there's a picture of a dark-skinned person wading through chest-deep water, dragging a garbage bag full of items, and the quote, the caption says, "A young man walks through chest-deep floodwaters after looting a grocery store." Looting a grocery store, that's the important phrase. The bottom picture, two light-skinned people doing the exact same thing, hauling things in a backpack and bags from a grocery store. And the caption says, 2 residents wade through chest-deep water after finding bread and soda. Now, I don't know that those reporters did that on purpose. It might have been their own unconscious bias that caused them to word it that way. But you can see how image after image and, you know, pairing words like looting with dark-skinned people, you can see how that starts to plant these pairings to start to feel like dark-skinned people might be dangerous, might be doing things illegal, and so on. So there's a real danger in letting our unconscious bias take over. It impacts our decision-making. Everything from when you're going through resumes to select a job applicants to interview, it can impact there, who you're selecting to even have a chance at a job. It can impact every single area of your work. And especially in the kind of work you're doing, where you're trying to uplift entire communities of people who have very different needs, different cultures, different backgrounds. I'm gonna go really quickly. This is an example of how your brain can get tricked. Another kind of issue is the visual way that our brain gets tricked. So it's not just in the pairings, but here you'll see that picture is really 2, I don't know, monsters, shall we say? They're the same size, but because of the way the walls are drawn in the picture, it looks like one is a lot bigger than the other. And the orange dot is the same size. The letters B, I, and AS are written in the exact same shade of red as the banner on the bottom. But because the lines going through them are either yellow or blue, they look completely different. So you see, your brain, these unconscious things that happen in your brain are because if I'd given you unlimited time to look at that first picture, you might have been able to measure the 2 little monsters and realized they're the same size. But I didn't. I just let you look at it for a minute, and then I kept going. Just like the airline pilot, I didn't give you a lot of time to think about it. I was pushing you to lean on unconscious pairings. Was that like my time limit?
Outdoor noise.
Okay, so I will try to wrap this up, but one last one. I just want to show you another way that bias can kick in. I want you to say the color of the text. I'm going to drop that arrow, and when the arrow starts going out loud, say the color of the text. Don't read the word. Just say the color of the text, okay? Go. Okay, wait. Let's try that again. Ready, everybody? For everyone who can see it. All right, go. Yes. Awesome. You did great. All right, we're going to do it again. Same thing. You know the ropes now. Let's do this. Go. Yeah. Not so much. Not so much. So what happened? In the first column, the word matched the color. The word blue was written in blue. In the second column, the first word red was written in black. And would you believe our brains have a bias towards wanting to read the word as opposed to look at the color? And so your brain was fighting you. If you were trying to say the color of the text, you might have been hesitating a little because your brain was actually fighting you on that. You were having to work at saying it, right? So this is what I mean. Unconscious bias is not something to be ashamed of or feel bad about. This is something that all of us have, and it affects many more parts of our brain than just the idea of discrimination and prejudice. It is part of our thinking in many different ways. So realizing that should make it easier for people, take it down a little, not be defensive, and be open to the idea that, yeah, I probably have some prejudices or some different kinds of biases. What do I do about it? How are we going to change that? So that's the goal. And I'm going to just fast forward through some of these. That's a good one because that one was about hearing and how there's even bias the way our brain processes what we hear. These are 5 things you can do to reduce the amount that your brain will lean on your biases. One is you don't want to be in a situation, you want to remove stress from your situation, because when your brain is stressed, it's looking for the shortcut. And that's where those pairings come in. Time pressure. So we don't want to wait till the last minute to do something. You want to block on your calendar a lot of time to read those resumes before you have to select any. Fatigue. You don't want to do it when you're tired. Again, brain tired, lean on the biases. Distraction. You don't want to be in a room like an open office environment where your brain is going to be having to fight all these distractions. Again, puts it in a tough situation, leans on biases. Ambiguity, a situation where there's not a lot of clarity. Do you remember when I said, say the word you know I want you to say? The worst directions on the planet? Yeah, I did that on purpose. You had to be thinking like, what does she want me to say? So when you add that kind of thing in, it pushes people to lean on biases. And that's how I could count on you leaning back on your 4-year-old selves to come up with young and old. These look kind of obvious, don't they? When you think about it, it's common sense. You do your best decision making when you're not stressed, when you don't have time pressure, when you're not fatigued or distracted, and when there is an ambiguity. Of course that makes sense. How many of us in our work are dealing with 3 or more of these every single day? Right? So what I'm gently reminding you is, you are constantly in a situation where you are likely pushed to leaning on your biases, even though you don't want to. If you are stressed, up against a deadline, tired, any of these things, believe me, your brain is struggling to keep you bias-free. So just be aware, if we don't do the work to make the unconscious conscious and to learn how to look at things with an equity lens, this will keep happening to you. There's a lot of data. I'm not going to share it right now. I will forward it to you afterwards. But this is data from the implicit association test that's held by Harvard University. 3 universities created it. The data showed overwhelmingly that our implicit bias and our explicit bias are measured very differently. So what happened is they've interviewed hundreds of thousands of people. They asked them about their biases. And in this case, biases against particular groups, like Black people, people with disabilities, and so on. And the blue line shows how much, sorry, the red line. The red line shows how much bias people believe they have. The blue line shows when they took a test, how much unconscious bias they have against those same groups. And you can see our unconscious bias is much higher than what we believe is our bias, because our values might tell us we feel a certain way, but we're not aware of those pairings from a young age that cause us to think otherwise.
Let's wrap this up in
Yep.
5 minutes if you don't.
I was just thinking that these slides are about the kind of bias that we see in Vermont. I'll just share one with you. Vermonters of color had a 48% home ownership rate in 2015. Yeah. And I thought 48% wasn't bad. But then we looked further. White Vermonters had a 72% rate of home ownership. That is a really, really big deal, because home ownership is also a predictor. Remember, I talked about predictors before. It is a huge predictor of whether or not your kids will go to college, of whether or not you can buy a car, of whether or not you can get a loan. There's so many things about whether or not you'll have generational wealth to pass to your kids. That is a predictor of a lot of things. So this information, this data showing that huge gap, 48% to 72%, that just shows you that over time, that ability to provide for your family and to live a great quality of life is harder for some groups than it is for others. And they're not catching up. They're not going to catch up at that rate. I do want you to hear this. This is important. This is a very short, I think it's 1 minute, short video, and this is my plea for all of you. That little voice, I want you to hear your little voice.
You know that little voice in your head? The one that tells you to ignore a tasteless joke.
The one that tells you to keep quiet when a client makes a racist comment.
The little voice that tells you you're not smart enough because English isn't your first language.
Or that it's okay to judge someone for leaving early because they have family commitments.
The one that tells you not to say anything when others are being reduced to stereotypes.
Or that it's not a big deal when everyone's opinion isn't considered.
You may think you're the only one that hears that voice, but that voice also speaks to other people. It says, you're different.
You're an outsider.
You lack commitment.
Your opinion doesn't matter.
Instead of listening to that little voice, you need to find yours and make it heard. It's time for all of us to speak up. Because when we change the dialogue, we can change our world.
Yeah, I was watching some footage of one of your select board meetings, and I was really impressed, Mary, because you use your voice. And I think that's really, I mean, you're in such powerful positions in terms of lots of people are watching what you're saying and doing, and so I know that's a lot of pressure, but I think it's also why you're capable of doing so much good and doing so much for the community. So I'm really grateful that you wanted to learn more and that you're on a path to trying to gain the knowledge you need in order to be able to make the best decisions, do the best by your community. Let me skip all of these. I am happy to talk with you again, if you'd like, and I believe I'm scheduled to do a training with your staff in another month. So I'm going to look forward to that. But in the meantime, I'd really like to make sure that you all have a chance to get the continued training and learning that you need. So I'll follow up with you and you can keep me posted on where you're at. Do you have any questions or anything?
Dave?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Lydia?
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, sure.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure.
We're sorry that we had to reduce your time, but we've got a lot on our plate tonight.
Sure, of course. I'm glad to be here, and good luck on the rest of your work. I know you've got a lot of pressing matters that are on your plate right now. So I'm wishing you all the grace you need to make your decisions fairly and thoughtfully.
That's beautiful, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Escape usually works.
I know.
Stop sharing. There you go.
No. There. Phew.
And the,
Jeff, while you're over there, we just check the chat too and make sure there isn't anything.
Oh, yeah, I know, I hope we can.
how do I get the?
I think people were responding that when they could and couldn't see.
No, two more
so-
over to the left, 3 over to the left.
Chat.
Where the red is.
Oh, yeah, I was unmuting first, but that's fine.
You need help?
Oh, it's back up with you.
Nice
So,
to see you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Charlene.
did you want me to
Thanks for the
read off?
information about
I just wanted to make
ideal.
sure
Yes,
that
of
there
course.
wasn't, something of urgency in there. That people can hear and see.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think we're good to keep going.
Well, would like Jeff to be able to introduce the Northfield Ambulance Service, but I will, our next item on the agenda is from the Northfield Ambulance Service. They are going to award Heart Saver Hero Awards. Who is the spokesman for that? Here we are. Megan? Come up with
Actually,
it.
Matt, but I'm gonna talk to work.
May I? Oh, yeah, that's right. Appreciate it.
So, good evening, my name is Matthew Romeo, I think most of y'all know me, anyhow. I'm a paramedic for Northfield Ambulance, I'm pleased to be here tonight representing not only Northfield Ambulance, but the American Heart Association and the Citizens CPR Foundation. If you haven't noticed, we're coming into town, on Route 12, there's some
These are
small signs that
the comments and
designate
questions.
Northfield.
Oh, yeah.
And you may not have really known what that meant, or it may not have mattered to you unless you had a personal connection to it. The Citizen CPR Foundation outlines 13 steps that the town goes through to earn that designation as being heart safe. And they're grouped into 3 major goals: widespread CPR education, publicly accessible AEDs, and advanced resuscitation protocols. Northfield Ambulance, Norwich University, which I'm a twice graduate of, have enjoyed a long and close association over at least the last 40 years. And right now is no different. Out of our current roster, we have 66 responders. 36 are current Norwich students volunteering with our ambulance service. And really, right now, there's only one person on our roster that doesn't have a direct or a second-order connection to the university, whether that's being a graduate, an alumnus, a current student, a child, and so forth. Our CPR instructors take on the mantle of the goal of widespread CPR education, and they work continuously to offer low barrier and low-cost CPR instruction, and even training large segments of the university student population. Last year, the year before, they trained the entire freshman class in one chunk. Norwich continues to lead the charge with placing publicly accessible AEDs throughout campus. Northfield Ambulance in the town of Northfield distributes AEDs among responders in the community, as well as at the pool, the Little League field, and we place a supplemental unit at Kreisberg Arena during youth hockey season. Over the last few years, Northfield Ambulance upgraded to a paramedic level service, which means that the most advanced resuscitation protocols are brought directly to a patient's side. Those of you that don't know, a paramedic in Vermont can do everything in the field at the patient's side for a cardiac arrest that can be done in the emergency room. All that effort is to ensure the chain of survival of early recognition, activation of the emergency response system, early CPR, early defibrillation, and early advanced life support. Tonight, we're before you to celebrate a win. By the way, side note, this is my 30th year as an EMT. This is the first time I've gotten to do this. So it's pretty cool. On October 14th, 2024, a member of our community, Michelle Langley, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest while at work at Norwich. Through the immediate recognition and action of her office mates, the chain of survival was activated with bystander CPR, an immediate call to 911, and a staff member retrieving an AED from the building next door. The ambulance crew that day was composed entirely of current Norwich University staff and students. They responded to the call for help. When the call was upgraded from difficulty breathing, which is a very common initial call that we get for cardiac arrest, when it was upgraded to cardiac arrest, 8 additional off-duty ambulance members responded, including 2 of our paramedics. I'm gonna stumble over the alliteration here. Through carefully choreographed chaos. That's what a bystander described it. Michelle was successfully resuscitated on scene and then transported to CVMC and then ultimately to UVM for treatment. Ultimately, she recovered completely. I will tell you that as CPR in the industry gets better, we're seeing some things that we've never seen before in EMS. We saw that with Michelle. It was absolutely mind-boggling to be on that scene and to see what was happening throughout her treatment. She's here with us tonight to help us recognize all of the bystanders. This story does not end like this without all those puzzle pieces coming together. So today we're grateful. The American Heart Association has recognized the entire cadre of bystanders and the EMS crews that responded to assist Michelle on her day, and we're happy to recognize them. I don't know if all of them are here. This is a really tough time of the year at the university with the end of school coming around, so we're not sure if everybody's here or not, but I'm going to call their names anyway. Kim Riley, Vice President of Enrollment Management. Taylor Nash, Norwich class of 19, and the Associate Vice President. Taylor Chapin, I don't think Chapin's here. Yeah, she's the assistant coach for the women's lacrosse team, so she's still on the field down there. Ryan Gallagher, I think, is also in baseball. Yep, so they just finished up a baseball game. He's the assistant coach for baseball and assistant director of admissions. August Guerrieri, I think, is on active duty. Yep, he's class of 24, is on active duty. Julia Pasalacqua, I haven't seen, she's traveling. So she's class of 21. Paul Hubestad, Norwich class of 26, if he keeps his grades up. Caleb Bolaris is an advanced EMT, a paramedic student, Norwich class of 21, and a current athletic. Courtney Lewis is EMT, class of 26 and masters of 27, if she keeps her grades up. Emily Reese is an advanced EMT, was the Newham's captain, class of 24. Well, y'all know how in every group there's an overachiever, right? Scott Bagg, paramedic, class of 97, 07, and masters in 22, is one of our paramedics. Currently in nurse practitioner school.
Didn't say it was smart.
Danielle Farnham is a first responder for Northfield Ambulance. Her parental unit is a local system. And I think I've managed to keep this a secret up until today, but Megan McCusker, our ambulance chief, class of 2006, an AEMT and a paramedic student. Appreciate your time. Thank you all
This
for
is excellent. This is
joining with us tonight. Just on a side note, I really love seeing this here. And I appreciate your efforts in doing
I was
that.
wondering if you're going to point that out.
For those of you that don't know, and I'll take just a hot second, every one of you can use an AED. Even if you've never been trained. Pull it out, open it up, turn it on, and follow the instructions. They'll talk to you in English and they'll walk you through every little bit of it. You may save a life. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any comments from the select board?
Really glad we had that.
Michelle, I gotta give you a hug. Because Michelle and I had the same thing happen just a few months apart. I had cardiac arrest.
Wow. That was telling. So, as I said earlier this evening, normally when we have unscheduled public participation, we roll it down to the end of the meeting. I'm going to change that today. We're going to have public participation for folks that I understand are here for a particular reason. This is the Ruido. I don't know how many people are going to speak tonight. And I would just ask, first off, we will refrain from any personal attacks. And we're also going to limit our public participation has a 5-minute limit on it because of the number of people that are here tonight. Without objection from the board, I'd like to reduce that to 2 minutes. Please come to the podium if you'd like to speak. And for the folks in Cyberland, we'll get to you as things get up here, everybody gets to speak once about the subject that I presume that we're all here about, which I gather is support for the chief. And so the folks at the podium, please come up, identify yourself, take your 2 minutes, say what you want to, refrain from personal attacks, and we'll do the same thing for the folks online. Does anybody wish to start? Okay. Does that mean we're going to go into the regular session?
Oh, I'll start.
Okay.
Pull up my notes. Sarah Path, Northfield resident. I was talking with a friend earlier, and she pointed out that this is an opportunity for social emotional learning for all of us. When someone makes a public comment that is harmful, even if they didn't mean it that way, nobody gets to say it wasn't harmful. That's just how it is. And sometimes that's really hard. So we were talking about that and I was thinking about it later. And so for my comment, I want to focus on that piece a little bit more because I think it's so important in this moment to remember that we are all immersed in racism all day, every day. It is in the air we breathe and we are all in a different place of understanding and growing into anti-racist work. Situations like this can be really divisive and painful, or they can bring a community together. It can be difficult to separate the person from the action, but I want to be clear, this is not about one person or even one particular statement. These kinds of situations arise daily throughout our community. They happen to our kids, they happen to our grown-ups. In this case, the racist statement happened in a public forum, and so I believe it must be addressed in that same forum. This is not about one person or one statement. It is about the message that is sent to the community when such statements go unchallenged. It is about speaking up about what was wrong and empowering and encouraging others to do the same so that we can all move forward with better understanding, kindness, and respect. Thank you.
Well spoken.
And this is Striker Path. Are you gonna read it or would you like me to read it?
I'll read it.
I'm just gonna speak up.
I'll read it. I'm just gonna skip the top one, okay?
Okay. Start right here.
Oh, fine. Hi, my name is Striker, and I'm in 2nd grade. And the reason I am here is because I think people should treat others with respect and kindness. And if you think someone should wear something else for their job, then you could say that in a kinder way without being racist, because that makes people feel more comfortable being around you. And to add on to that, I learned the hard way that you can hurt someone's feelings if you don't think before you say it. Also, there is no reason to be racist, because being racist is never going to be good for you.
Is there anybody else in the room who would like to approach the podium?
Somebody else in charge.
Please do.
Hi, I'm Naomi March. I go to Northfield Elementary School here in Northfield. I'm here because I was upset by something a member of the ambulance department said. They said our police chief looked like a gangster because he wore a hoodie. That's not just rude, it's racist. Our police chief is a man of color. Saying he looks like a criminal just because of what he's wearing is unfair and wrong. It sends a message that people who look like him or people who look like me can be judged for no good reason. When I wear a hoodie, I feel normal, I feel comfortable. I don't feel scared because of my clothes. I don't feel scared knowing that I do feel scared knowing that someone who's supposed to help in an emergency might not treat everyone equally. First responders should protect and respect everyone. Our town needs to make sure racism isn't allowed, especially from people who we count on in serious situations. I want Northfield to be a place where everyone feels safe and respected. That's why I'm speaking up. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Wayne Lutter, Northfield residents. If you have a hoodie on, can you raise your hand?
Let the online folks know that approximately 18 people raised their hands for wearing a hoodie in response to Wayne's question.
That's all I have to say.
Matthew Fetters, Northfield resident. I also am a representative of the community, and it did make me think, because this is a hoodie that I wear regularly to work. I've never thought that I represent anything but casual professionalism. I actually interviewed in a tie, and the day I arrived, someone recommended that I wear less ties. I think a hoodie is pretty much the chosen top of Vermonters. So I did have to question when I heard that comment, what is different in my hoodie and the police chief's? And sadly, all I can arrive on is skin color. And I am glad that there were board members that pointed out the concern with the comment, and I hope that we continue to speak out against racism.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorna Doney. I was at that particular meeting. I understand what people's concerns are. I do think it could have been better said. I know the gentleman, he is not a racist, but he does run away with his tongue without thinking at times. I was taken aback the first time I saw the chief in his hoodie. I know he was here earlier tonight. But I found him to be very professional. I enjoyed talking with him. I think we have a good communication on a particular issue in downtown. I don't have a problem with the hoodie in the day-to-day. I would like to see him in his full uniform when he's at a public event representing the town, at public events and things like that. I was upset at the board members' reaction, not what was said, but how it was said. You're an elected official. Emotions were high, but you need to tamp those down and speak in a professional way. In my opinion, it's not, in my opinion, presented professionally. But I have no issues with the hoodie. I'm sure they're much more comfortable than the rest of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Shanadoni. This this was an incredibly stressful weekend for me because anybody who knows me knows I'm really passionate about the way the world is right now, the way our current country's being run. I'm not impressed, not happy with a lot of things. And I'm trying to learn and grow and be a better person. I'm trying to recognize things that I've done in my past to play into this. I've had the pleasure of taking courses with Shalini through the state of Vermont. What I want to say is, I understand why Lorna wanted to say what she wanted to say, but I feel like we're still missing something. It's not about calling someone a racist, it's about identifying the words they use were racist. So, again, here to just say, I hope we can all learn, because if the minute you're done learning, you're dying. And I don't think we're done learning here in town. I know I'm not. I come from New Jersey, a much more diverse area, and when I moved here, I had a lot of biases, you know? And it's pretty white up here, so it's easier to actually believe those biases. You know, you can get into your own world and think, this is the way it should be. And then you start to learn that there's all kinds of factors that play into everything in life. But the biggest key for me is, if we try to defend, don't defend the man. I love that man. But we can't defend the words. We have to be really clear about that part. And it doesn't, anybody who knows me knows I love my brother-in-law. But he still said the wrong words. And quite frankly, I love him to pieces, but he also was quite aggressive. I watched the video, and the first thing he was complaining about was the roads, and even then, he's lit, he does that, right? But it doesn't mean it's okay, right? It means we gotta get better, we gotta learn, we gotta recognize, and again, not take it personally. You know, I say things wrong all the time. I now am a supervisor of people who are my children's age, okay? I know you find that hard to believe, but it's true. And I have to remember when I'm talking to some of the women that work for me, that they're not my child. And I don't get to say honey, or dear, or like I would, right? And again, when I say those things, I don't have ill intentions, but it's still not okay, and I have to learn. So I'm just asking my community members to heed Shalini's words today, and give yourself the grace to learn. Give yourself a chance to think, hey, it's not about whether somebody's a good or a bad person, it's about words matter. And did my words hurt someone? Doesn't matter if I didn't intend them to. So I'm just gonna ask my community to really just heed Shalini's words. Get out there, take a class, do an online training. I encourage you to do as much training with Shalini as you can. She's great. We only got a taste of it today. I had that whole training about a month ago. Every time I do one of these trainings, I learn something new. I was on the DEI at my former employer, Vermont Mutual, and I learned every day. Every time we had a meeting, I would learn something. So there's lots of opportunities out there to get that education. So I just want to say, words matter. Let's love each other like I love my brother-in-law. And just take opportunities to keep learning and make Northfield better.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'll just start by saying that I agree with the last, I'm Ryan Harlow.
Thank you,
I live in
Ryan.
Northfield. I agree with the last speaker. I think it's important not to vilify people in these moments. I've lived here for about 2 years, and in that time, I've come to see that there are a lot of people in this town who just want to live their lives without harming anyone else, and there's a lot of people in this town who want to live their lives while improving the lives of other people. And I, without even knowing the person who made that comment, believe that he probably falls into one of those categories. I can almost guarantee he does, because that's just human nature. However, I also think it's important to use moments like this and incidents and things that do stand out to me in town as stepping stones to improving personally and for the town. So examples would be a lot of you probably see me riding my bike around town. Sometimes I have flags on my bike. I've been confronted by people because one of my flags is BLM flag. And that would be an example of something that I don't feel is right in this town. There's a sign that any kid on their way to school, if they're driving to school, says Black Lives Matter. So every kid on their way to school, unless they walk to school, is seeing that sign. That's something that's important for us to see, right? It doesn't mean we have to find out who that person is, who has on their property, and vilify them. But ignoring it doesn't help us to use that as a stepping stone to growth. And I would say that the comments that were made about our police chief fall into that category. We have to see it, we have to make sure that we clearly identify it, and everyone has to use that to move forward. Thank you.
Charlie, are you, just sorry, 1 second. I see that people online have their hands raised. Were you gonna do everyone in the room and then everyone online?
We could take a break, I think we could, what's the board's pleasure? You wanna do some online?
It doesn't matter to me, I just wanna make sure they know that
We
they're
will,
not gonna be
we will get to
ignored.
the online committee, we'll do the folks in here first, because even though the doors are open, the heat is on and it's a little tight in here. So please go identify yourself and speak your mind.
I'm Beth Leonard. My husband spoke about the hoodies a few minutes ago. We are a mixed couple. We came to Northfield with confidence that there weren't going to be any biases, and I'm from South Burlington, lived in Essex for 33 years, then moved down near Philly with him for a while, and we're back, living here in Northfield. We didn't know how we were going to be received, however, I had confidence that we were going to be received with open arms. But there's always that question, a mixed couple, probably, I don't know if we're the only mixed couple in the, oh, there we go. Yes. But here was how we were received the day in February when we moved our furniture into our house on Central Street. We had a big 26-foot truck blocking South Street. And probably a half an hour after we had started emptying it, there's a police car blocking South Street on Central. I'm like, oh no, first day in Northfield, and we've got the police after us. I'm like, oh, so I start walking toward him, and our daughter goes to Howard University, which is at HBCU, and walking with my Howard University sweatshirt, like, I'm ready to say, I'm sorry. And he saw my sweatshirt, he's like, HBCU, because he had gone to a HBCU, for those who don't know, a historically black college or university. I'm like, oh, there's a brown person in the community, yay, and he accepted us. And since then, I will say that our neighborhood has embraced us. I feel like it's a warm blanket around us, and I appreciate that so much. But I was also, so it was so nice to see a brown person in the community that was a leader of the community. And I'm saying this to attest to the work he does as Pierre Gomez. After we moved in, we closed our house 3 weeks later. Come to find out, several times, he took his flashlight while nobody was living there, but our things were in there, and checked to make sure there were no intruders in our house through the windows. I appreciated that. One day he came by, we were outside, he drove by and he said there were some people in the green, in the square, whichever way it is here. They were hanging out, they were ready to camp out. And he's like, not happening in our town, So he had gone over and told them, this isn't a place to be camping out, go home. And he stayed with us for probably a half hour, and he said, I'm going back to check. They were still there. He told them politely but firmly they needed to leave. Everybody has had some amazing things to say. All I'm doing right now is attesting to what an amazing chief he is for our community. He was making sure that Northfield was not gonna become another city hall park in Burlington. And that is what I want for this community. Burlington has become a place that I don't wanna go anymore, even though I grew up there. But he is determined that that is not gonna be this community. So I appreciate him in the fact that my husband and I feel safe here, and also our neighbors and anyone that we've met, we feel very welcome. And the fact that he is determined that, like I said, we're not gonna have a town that's going to have whatever goes on in City Hall Park in Burlington is not gonna happen here. So, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Paul.
Hello, I'm Chandler Murch, father of Naomi, who spoke earlier. And there's been a lot of important points made tonight. I think that we understand that words matter to people, actions matter to people, and our thoughts matter as well. And I hope that what we take away from this event, as Ryan said, is that this is an opportunity to learn and to grow. And it's needed, because for every person who says, I don't think that way, or I don't feel that way, I don't treat others that way, there are lots of people who do. And they're not just you as adults, they're your children, or friends of your children. I have been very protective of our daughter and what I have heard from her and from her school and her schoolmates, and what's being said around her or to her. And I have to remind myself that we shouldn't resort to, old ideas of, well, you should just kind of pop that kid in the mouth for saying that. Instead, we should be thinking about the environment that these kids are growing up in and where they're learning these things, which is in their homes. So these things are present, and this is a sort of, a straw here that is breaking the back of not just a man, but our community. And I don't think that's who we want to present ourselves as. And frankly, I don't think we need any more lawsuits from police chiefs, so.
Thank you, Chandler.
Dave McMartin, and I guess the only thing I want to say is we have had some real beauties for chiefs of police in this community over the years. And for us to be casting aspersions on a police chief who, from everything I've heard, is doing a great job, then we're idiots. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roy Brucken. I'm a history professor in Norwich, and I teach a course on race and racism in American history. We as a country really don't know how to talk about race, and so in the class with my students, we've got to build a learning community that takes about 4 weeks or so to do icebreakers, exercises, really difficult conversations before we can really access some of the things that we don't want to say because we think we might say the wrong thing. And listening to folks tonight reminds me that, none of us have a right to feel surprised, right, by the words we heard. And my guess is that nobody in the room had to ask, well, what does that mean to call somebody a gangster who's a person of color or anybody? Like, my guess is that all of us knew exactly because we've learned this language already, or these images already. So I don't think we have a right to be surprised. A second is we don't have a right to feel superior to folks who use those words, right? Because if anything, the speaker tonight, who I learned from, reminds us that we're all in the process of trying to be better people. The third is that we, on the other hand, we can't be silent, right? Because we might feel shame and guilt, and we might not know the right words to say, although that's belied by the folks who spoke before me. And so we can't be silent, because then we let those ugly words fill up the space. And then two other things, it really should be a gut check. It's a gut check for me, right? About what this means for our community, what it means for the person who those words landed on, and other folks in the community who heard those words differently than folks who look like me heard. And that caused me, you might see me running around town, literally, I'm the long distance runner. I think about these kind of things deeply, because my own frame of reference is so narrow and so limited. And so tonight is you folks have given me some other things to think about. And then I'm really glad that we started the meeting with the person from the state to talk about what we can do action-oriented in the future as the leaders in this community, and hopefully the knowledge that you all learn you can pass down to us through your actions and your deliberations. So thank you.
Thank you, Raleigh.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room? Do we have anybody online that would like to speak?
There was a bunch.
I see in the left-hand corner, there's two with raised hands. I can't read their names, but.
Dan, what do you see?
Do you want me to just click on someone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this person.
How about Mia Schultz?
Here I am. Hi there.
Hi.
Hear you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mia Schultz, and I'm the president of the Rutland Area NAACP. And I'm here to talk on behalf of our organization, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. But I'm also someone who's been spending many years here in Vermont alongside of communities in pursuit of racial equity, accountability, and collective healing. I have been in conversation and communication with Chief Gomez now for quite some time. And I'm here tonight not simply because there's a crisis, the crisis that you're all speaking of today, or the controversy that we're all speaking here about, but I'm here because there's a pattern that we've seen so many times in too many towns, a pattern that unfolds when a person of color is placed into a position of leadership within a predominantly white community. And rather than being welcomed and supported they are slowly and painfully undermined, not only through overt actions that we're speaking of today, but often through inaction, through silence, through a refusal to stand up when it matters the most. We do not meet this moment by accident. We meet this moment because many things have happened or didn't happen. And long before this conversation became public, from the beginning, Chief Gomez tenure, there was no resounding public and unmistakable show of support for his leadership from our town leaders or from your town leaders. There was no intentional effort to acknowledge and address the deeply problematic and in some cases openly hostile environment that he would be walking into. And so we arrive here after months of complaints, character attacks, racialized language, and procedural avoidance. And now we're supposed to be shocked, surprised that the relationship between leadership and the chief of police is now ruptured. That trust has been eroded. Excuse me. That trust has now been eroded, and the morale is low, in particular for Chief Gomez, from our conversations that we've had. And now we have people who are concerned and standing up, and we're really glad for that. But we can't be shocked by the cracks in the wall when we've ignored the rotting of the foundation. So in my position, I do not begin with the public statements like this. I do not jump to calling out before making every effort to call in, because that's the heart of restorative practice. That's the heart of community work. And that's exactly what I did. I reached out to your town manager. I asked him earnestly that he offer bold and vocal support for Chief Gomez, not just as a passing acknowledgement, not a quiet nod behind closed doors. I called for a clear stance that would be felt by every member of town government and every resident of this community. I asked him to lead with integrity, to say plainly that the town needs to stand with its chief of police, and to make clear that attacks, especially those rooted in racial bias, would not be tolerated under his leadership. And what I received in return was not leadership, it was deflection. It was a process without purpose. It was a list of town-wide initiatives, symbolic steps, and a refusal to personally own what this moment demands.
All right, well, I gotta tell you that, we're bordering on personal attacks here.
To stand,
I
okay, to stand
appreciate what you get
silently with
through
your
there, but
chief
we're
is an
having.
isolated and disrespectful, and it's not, it's neutral. Let's be honest. This isn't about one man. This is about what happens when a person of color takes the helm in a system that's not built to support them. It's about whether this town truly believes in equity or it says it does. Chief Gomez requires support. He requires support from all of its leadership. It needs to be loud. It needs to be proud. This is a man that you chose to serve your town, who brought decades of experience and a vision for an inclusive, community-centered policing. And this is no longer about disagreements or misunderstandings. This is about justice. This is about the kind of town that you want to be. This is about whether your leadership will rise to the moment or whether you let it pass it by. So I ask each one of you, because that's my job. That's what I do. Will you stand up? Will you speak plainly? Will you offer the public your unequivocal support for your chief, not just for appearances, but because it's right? Will you address the conditions that made this possible in the first place? Will you acknowledge the pain and the silence and the harm? Or will you continue to defer and deflect? Because I assure you, this storm will not pass on its own. And communities of color across the state are watching to see what Northfield will do next.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else?
All right, I see Jay Boudreau, and then I see Will, you're next.
I don't know if you're able to hear me. My name is Joaquin Pedro. After hearing what the NAACP leader just shared, I'm going to change what I intended to speak on and ask a few questions or delineate, I guess, a few things that I think I heard and I read between the lines that perhaps need to be highlighted. And that is there a culture that facilitates this type of behavior in the town of Northfield? And if it is, what's being done about it? It's great to have a DI person come in when you have a problem like this that's brought to a head, that's caused consternation in the community. But knowing that there is some other underlying problem, what is the breadth and depth of the problem? Why hasn't that been shared with members of the community? And why don't we know if there's been a history of these types of complaints being made in this organization? Who's covering this up? Who's not addressing this? I think we have to get leadership. We have to say to ourselves, why is it that we're just hearing this because of a gangster comment? A gangster comment softens the issue. It makes it easy for people to step up and say, well, that's not right. My kid wears hoodies. Well, guess what? That's not enough. Look at the depth of this, understand what's happening in the background, and I think we don't. I think that just judging by what the NAACP leader just said, that there is something going on that is wider and more broad than what's being brought to the table today. It's convenient that a DI person came in to speak, but that does us no good if the people that spoke the words that created the havoc here have a systematic approach to taking away the power of the police. I think we all know where this is coming from, and no one's addressing it. No one's addressing the fact that folks that are involved in this work in the city and have not been punished in any way. I have a hard time understanding or believing that there's not evidence out there that says that direct action should be taken. As somebody that's been in leadership positions in government for many years, I am taken aback by what I've seen and heard. I am no longer employed, I'm retired, but I will tell you this. If this happened in any community that I worked in, where I was a city manager or a town manager, there would have been direct action taken and not retroactive training. The retroactive training is something that's been in Northfield as this training step. So when you train someone, you hold them accountable for the training that you provide. And if that's not being done, we have to look at the people who are leading the organization and say to ourselves that change needs to be made. But thank you for your time, and I hope that I get on points that haven't been spoken about.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very much,
Boudreau.
Mr. Boudreau.
All right, Will, you're up.
Will Eberly, Northfield resident. I wanted to take a moment to join the chorus of people providing their support for our police chief. I haven't had the opportunity to work with you directly yet, Chief Gomez, but your reputation precedes you. And I have had the opportunity to work very closely with law enforcement leaders across the state in my previous position in state government. And I just want to make it so clear to people in the room that the importance of the culture that you've created, Chief Gomez, with community policing and making it feel safe and accessible to interact with law enforcement professionals in our community is a sea change and is incredibly welcome and is sending a message to our youth that it is safe and fruitful to begin to see law enforcement leaders in the community as part of their community, not a disparate, separate force, but as part of the very essential fabric of the community. And that shows real vision and leadership. That isn't something that just happens. It shows a lot of courage, and it is something that we are very fortunate to see in our community. Prior to your tenure, we had a situation that was an embarrassment, not just locally, but statewide, even nationally, as it became national headlines. The lack of vision and inclusion and leadership, and a very didactic approach to the power of the role that was not serving our community or hewing to our values as a group of people. And I just can't thank you enough for the type of vision that you've brought to our community, the leadership you've shown, and I hope that you don't get discouraged in this moment where we are seeing so much unfortunate racism and polarization and divisiveness. And I just want to let you know that there are so many people that deeply appreciate what you're doing, and just we're really lucky to have you. So thank you so much, and please don't get discouraged. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Is there anybody that hasn't spoken yet that would like to speak?
Oh, I think those are claps.
I didn't catch them.
Yeah.
Is there anybody online that hasn't spoken that would like to speak again? Or, I'm sorry. Is there anybody online that hasn't spoken and would like to? Hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the topic? We have one right over here.
Mary's there. Mary. Does she know she's on?
Well, we have someone in the audience here we're gonna recognize.
We'll go back. We'll come back to whoever this other person is. Mary?
I'm not seeing another hand up.
I think, was Mary Dollemeyer raising her in-person hand on her video?
Oh, possibly.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm Christina Ward, and I want to speak in support of the chief. We are incredibly lucky to have him. After watching that select board meeting and hearing that resident say the term gangster, I saw it for what it was, a dog whistle. Is there anything that is going to happen to someone who does something like that, is there education? Are you offering courses? Is there any actions or any repercussions? And I think that's important.
So that is a personnel issue, and we don't discuss personnel issues. We can't by law. But we, as I said in the beginning of the meeting, we have accountability demands us to investigate, identify, and eliminate all of the things that have been discussed tonight.
I just want to say I'm grateful that we have Chief Gomez, and I hope you don't lose him over this.
Thank you so much. Shannon, I'm gonna hold on, I'm just gonna check online. Is there anybody online that has not spoken yet that would like to address the board or the community?
Looks like Mary wants to.
Mary, raise your hand if you want to speak.
You shook her head, no, she said no.
Thanks, so hearing none from the online community, please, Shannon, was it?
Yes,
Right.
it's okay, I know I
You're
already
welcome to
spoke
speak
once,
again.
but, I'm coming back up because I definitely have more questions after hearing the woman, sorry, I forgot your name already. Mia from the NCAA. I think most of the people are here tonight because of what happened at that select board meeting. I can't speak for everyone, but most people, it was like, you know, on Facebook and they shared the video. And I think a lot of people spoke to that specific commentary around the hoodie and the gangster and all that. But it sounds like there's something bigger and that there's more issues that I wasn't even aware of if they've already reached out to you before that. So I guess my question is there going to be some kind of, I know you can't talk specific personnel issues, but some level of transparency, because I think people would have come out and supported the chief a heck of a lot sooner if we were aware. I'm also gonna say this, those who know me, I'm not a big back the blue lady, you know? Coming out here today was like really challenging for me because I don't know the chief at all, right? But I know those words were wrong. I know we can't, it's a dog whistle. And I know we can't have that and we have to educate and get better about it. But I just want to say that if it's bigger than that comment and there's something else going on, people in this town need to know. Because we do support, there's enough people in this town that they would have been out here and we would have been blowing our own whistle. So if there's other issues that haven't come to light, then I want to understand how that's going to be rectified and how do we get that rally sooner, because
Yeah, read the can you say the statement again that you said today?
I'd be happy to. The town, this was started at the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
The town of Northfield, through the select board, is committed to upholding a code of ethics and commits to non-prejudicial treatment in the workplace. Accountability demands we investigate, identify, and eliminate hatred and bigotry where they exist.
So then what I'm hearing is we are investigating personnel issues where bigotry has been beyond what everybody heard at the last select board meeting.
Last select board meeting,
Or the meeting that's, excuse me, the viral meeting, I'll say.
right, the viral meeting. Yeah, viral takes a whole new meaning considering how sick I was that day, but yes, we've got our task in front of us.
Okay. Thank you, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know that, I was kind of taken back.
Anybody else? Yes, please, Elroy, there's someone else coming up behind you.
Katie Whitney, a lifelong resident of Northfield. I also have the incredible privilege to work very closely with the speaker tonight, Shalini, on a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives within the state of Vermont. But what's bringing me up here tonight is I actually want to address our community. What kind of community do we want? Do we want our children to grow up feeling safe and nurtured and supported, as well as all have access to equitable opportunities and in a resilient community? What does that look like? Does anybody here know what the state population for those who identify as non-white is? What's the percentage?
2%.
It's actually about 4% for non-white. It's about 1.2% for folks who identify as Black or African American. Those numbers have not shifted over time. And the rate in which folks come to this state hasn't really shifted. And that is because when folks come here, they leave at a rate of about 80% within the first 5 years of coming to our communities. What does that say about us? What does that say about surrounding and supporting those who don't identify as what the majority of our population looks like? What does that mean for my 2 teenage girls who look like Chief Gomez? What type of support are we providing for them? The onus is not on the 4% coming into this community to be the strong, to be the resilient, to be the brave, and make the change. That is on us. That is on our leadership. Do better, learn, communicate with each other. It doesn't matter where you start on your DEI journey. Maybe it's you watch a show with somebody who looks different than you. Maybe you pick up a book from an author who has a different identity as you. As a community, we need to do better, and we need to support particularly those who are in leadership positions who have a different identity than us. I really do believe that we can be better. I hope that we can do better. As a mother of essentially 4 children, 2 who identify as brown, I have to believe we can do better as a community. Chief Gomez, I stand with you. I thank you. I want you to know that your hoodie makes you resonate with the younger population on a level that is incredibly relatable and approachable, particularly in a time when there is such division around the folks who wear blue. I stand with you, my family stands with you, and it is not on you to be the change. We must be the change. Thank you very much.
Please, all right.
Please. I've had the privilege of meeting with our police chief quite a few times. He's a very respectable and respectful person. And on the issue of color, or what have you, in my lifetime, I'm 81 years old, but in my lifetime, I have never seen a Chinaman, I've never seen a Russian, I've never seen an Italian, I've never seen a colored person. All I've ever seen is honest to goodness human beings. And so I put that and support our police chief 110% because he is a very nice person. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. In the audience, is there anybody else? Yes, please.
My name is Tim Swartz, and I wanted to stand up and say that I'm a part of the Accessibility, Walkability, and Pedestrian Safety Task Force. And we are all about making a place where everybody can get around easily and do things well and be able to take part just like everybody else. Chief Gomez came to one of our meetings. We had a great meeting. We were pleased that he understood what we were after. He had interesting input to give. And I'm real glad we've got him in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Is there anybody else? Is there anybody else online? Can you check that out, Dan?
I see none.
I see none. Hearing none, I'm going to end the public participation. We are going to take a short break. If you're going to stay for the normal business that the municipality has to conduct, which I will identify as being liquor license renewals, outside consumption permits, minutes, warrants, payment of bills, we're gonna take a note out for a loan, you're welcome to stay. If not, if you're going to leave, please put your chairs up. And if you see a broken chair, separate it from the rest of the chairs. You have 5 minutes. We are
Work smarter, not harder.
So there was 3 in one round. I was one of them. 2 of them were seniors. One of them was on Channel 5 last week. He was 2 days before I had a very similar ceremony last week for our city control, for our ambulance department, and for the UBM. That's the first time I've seen it. I never did that in 5 years. I noticed, it was part of our community health that started about.
That's what I think. Well, you know, the thing I want to know. Very active meeting.
I wrote that out.
I did too.
Even though I got a
Scary in there.
I heard about last.
Oh my goodness, that's like, oh, what a trip. Every lot, all right.
Yeah, man.
Find it. There's 2. There's a hole. And the button, they're not the same.
That green thing, which I haven't tested. You should give it that. Oh, you got one of the broken chairs. It wasn't me. We've been trying to keep a stack separate, but they need a big, like, a label, like, these chairs are broken. Yeah, I think we're getting new chairs. But, yeah, you can put it to the side wherever. You don't have to sit in that chair. These ones, sometimes the wheels just pop out while you're sitting in it. Somehow the wheel just pops out. And you're going like, it does. I know, well, it's not, this is not at all ergonomic for my height.
2 minutes, folks.
Figure out or sit down.
He's 65, 66 years old, maybe he's doing, but they say, you can teach old out of your trick. Some of them are, yep. But you can never stop a dog from white and gray. Oh, yeah. Good afternoon. How are you doing today? How are you? Happy as can be.
In our
My day
meetings that I use at work, it's all safe. I think we're ready, we're looking for Mary Chanel. She went to the lady.
Bathroom line.
And it's probably a bathroom.
Hope you have a lot more. I like good neighbors.
Oh, I do.
Well, I'm regular stairs.
I'm only 81 years old.
Jeff and I.
81 years, he's young. So I'm figuring under 81 worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I can still shovel the sidewalk.
Some days that's more than I can do, so. I mean, I was in the back having a back spasm, so.
Can you guys Mary, we prop the door back open again?
Yeah, it's still getting kind of warm in here.
That door. No, not that one, Mary, just this one. Mary, not that one. I just meant this one.
You don't want the back door open?
Well, I think there was too much sound. When we go back there, I just don't want that one closed. Suffocate us. We can, it's just, we closed it before because of how loud it was. But we can try it again, maybe it's quieter out
Try
there
it
now.
again, I mean, it gets, I think nothing, people go to bed.
Circulation is good for us.
Otherwise, I think you all should stop breathing. Can you just stop? Time out.
Oh, yeah, that one appears to be openable. I
It is, I've seen it open.
You've seen it open?
Oh, yeah, there's
We've got the doors open, I think we're good. Hopefully, if we all
All
just
right, we'll
can't
start
take
the
it.
meeting, we'll continue the meeting with, item 5, Liquor Control Commission. Do I have a motion to approve the Woods Lodge liquor license renewal?
Motion to approve the Woods Lodge liquor license renewal.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the liquor license renewal for the Woods Lodge, please, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? 5-0. Outside consumption permit, Depot Square Pizzeria, the Woods Lodge. Do I have a motion to approve the outside consumption permit?
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second to approve. Discussion.
Well, the Depot Square says it wants to take 2 parking spots in front of Depot Square Pizza. Which 2 are they talking about?
Okay.
It says, right in front, directly in front of their business.
Well, I think there are 3 there. My question is it going to create a problem for people that want to turn down by the American Legion and into that parking lot down there? And I don't know which 2 they're talking about.
Did we not request at our last meeting that there be like a, well, more than this, more than like a drawing and a more descriptive request, and also,
I will, well, I think we did, but I think this got lost because this was submitted, but it just didn't make it into our package.
okay.
So, as far as, we don't have what you speak of, but I will make the assumption that the, access to, what's the name of that street that goes between 2 buildings? The Depot Square? The access.
I think you're right.
I think it's called Depot Square, but the access between the American Legion and the pizza parlor is the edge of the parking, and then the one part to the east, which would be close to O'Malley's. My assumption.
I feel like we need to deal with do we grant a parklet before we grant an outside consumption permit, is my personal opinion. Like, how can we give the permit for outside consumption when we haven't approved?
It's, all right, we have, the goal is to have a ordinance for parklets, which we will not be able to accomplish this year in a timely fashion.
Right.
So I would, I think the way to go, if the board agrees, is to put the conditions of the parklet that we agree to, and if we approve this request, put the conditions in that as a approval.
I'm not following. Is everybody else
Oh, well,
following?
so if we approve it, we'll approve it with the conditions we agreed to tonight.
Approve a parklet or approve the outside consumption permit?
The outside consumption permit, and which I believe goes with a parklet. Is that?
Still not
am I-
following, sorry.
Am I right on that?
No, in my opinion, if you, and I'm not passing judgment, but if you approve this, then basically you're giving that approval. So I think this would be the time to, as Charlie had said, to give more specifics, the exact spaces.
Yeah, and
Or delegate, the manager.
it's in our minutes from the last meeting
To
that,
delegate the manager to work
yeah,
with those folks.
and to
Well, it says
request
the
additional
2 front parking
information.
spots, so we know that we're building a parklet, don't you think?
But what we have in front of us is an outside consumption permit, not a request for a parklet. On the agenda, there's nothing about approving a parklet. So I think it would be improper for us to improve a parklet when the agenda item is about an outside consumption permit. And I don't think we should approve an outside consumption permit before we resolved the issue of whether they're going to be allowed to have a parklet.
So let me ask a question then. Have we approved the outside consumption permit for Good Measure Brewery already?
Yes,
We have,
And O'Malley's.
yes.
so we're holding them to a different standard.
O'Malley's has been approved for the sidewalk, it does not involve parking places. This request is for parking places that, as you have all read.
Yep.
As, in front of roped off picnic tables and planters to be placed in the roped off area is about as close as we can get to the description of a parklet without us actually talking about it.
Goody, what did you say was in the minutes again?
Yeah, I mean, I can read them,
Yeah.
that we talked about it and we, trying to remember where it started. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this slide, because you brought it up,
Well,
and
It's
we
on
did bring up,
page 3,
yes,
and it's down midway between, this gigantic paragraph called C. And midway down, we feel like they're talking about, what we should do, and then at the very tail end, it was tabled. And I have some opinion about that, and I'll be happy to share that later. But one of the things that we wanted to figure out was, what is the calculation of the number of parking spaces now available in the downtown area, as well as the number that could be feasibly converted into parklets? That, I remember this discussion.
Yeah, I found the section that I was looking for, that we did not make a motion but there was consensus around. Board member Maxwell noted there now are 2 requests for such parklets, and he also felt that it was unrealistic to have this ordinance in place for the beginning of this year's outside drinking dining season. He thought it might be useful in the interim to have the parklet applicants provide additional information, including schematics, to the select board members, so these requests can be properly reviewed prior to possible approval. Board member Maxwell would like Manager Schultz to get written proposals from these businesses that the select board members can review at their next select board meeting. And there was general nodding and agreement to that process, and agreement that we need an ordinance so that we can be fair and apply it evenly, because we had a situation that started during COVID and has just continued, and that's why we renewed it, because it was the same thing that they'd done before. Same with O'Malley's, they were gonna do the same thing they've done before. But we need to be more.
You just said the same thing they've done before. I don't think those had outside seating. have they?
No, O'Malley's and Good Measure are doing
Okay,
the same
thank
thing
you.
that they've done previously, and so
Yes.
they received approval just based on the past, but we do need to do better at having a clearer ordinance for people to follow.
So there's a motion on the board to approve the outside seating. Is there any other discussion?
The
I have
outside
another
consumption permit,
discussion.
not the outside seating.
Outside consumption permit, thank you.
I have a discussion that I'd like to make. This, again, I make a plea on behalf of the business owners who need to make decisions and plan. And calamities, I don't even know if you can order materials anymore in time to get it by June 1st with the delay that we're taking. I would wonder if the motion could be made to approve outside permit this year. And then we'll deal with the whole ordinance in a thoughtful process throughout the rest of the year, so that when we meet again in 2026, that we have an ordinance that we can approve and people can follow, and, you know, we can do it the nice way. But let's this time just give these people what they're asking for, and we'll see how it works out this summer.
That's the motion on the table, I think.
No.
So could you read the
We're talking
motion
about
back,
outside
please?
consumption permit though,
Yeah.
not giving approval for parklets.
Well, I mean, the form has, as requested, has a written description. It says, you know,
We just don't know the clarification of which 2 spots.
right.
And at our
Well,
last
they
meeting,
said
we
in
agreed on.
front, so, yeah, so it says the 2 spaces in front.
I went down and took a look, and the 2 spaces, in the third space, okay, so there's a space that is adjacent to the turn there.
The driveway.
And then there's that next space adjacent to that, which would be east. And then the next space adjacent to that, which would be east, but that blends over into O'Malley's. So I don't think that that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about the first one and the second one.
The fact that we don't know the answer to that and that we're talking about approving it is the problem, in my opinion.
So we have an application for an
Yeah.
outside consumption limited permit. That's the title of this application. And it has a description of the type of event for the outside consumption area that is described. The motion on the table is to approve the outside consumption permit, which is also includes by the form the 2 parking spots in front of the Depot Square. Is there further discussion?
I'll just say, I don't have anything against this business having a parklet or an outside consumption permit, but I will be voting against it if we're voting right now, because I don't think that's the right process, not anything against the request.
So I would make an amendment to the motion that we be specific to the 2 parking spots
There you go.
that we give permission, if we give permission for an outside consumption permit
For this year.
for this year. And my suggestion would be not using the outside one that's adjacent to the Depot Square. It would be the next two.
And you could have that as your motion, say just the
Who
next.
who made the motion?
I did.
So you can make it friendly
I
amendment?
know I can.
All right, are you doing so?
I did.
And he's done so is there any objections to the amendment?
Can I just ask a question about their diagonal spaces?
Right.
So they kind of go into how do you make it into a rectangle?
You
So
know,
that
You know?
you don't
make it-
impact the other,
You make it
so it has to stay within the
within the parking
bounds.
spots, yep,
It can't go
within the
in
line.
beyond the.
Nope. correct. And I could be more specific if you'd like on that.
I have one more thing too. Can we say, and let others use it when it's not, when the Depot Square Pizza is not in operation?
I would disagree with that because this is just for an outside consumption permit that's only solely for this business.
Okay, all right, okay. That could be in our ordinance.
The
if we
tables,
wanted.
That could be in a more comprehensive ordinance, which I am all for. Because I think that would
Okay.
level the playing field and treat the business as equal.
So Dave has made an amendment to the
Location of the two
location,
spots to be the
There will
two,
be a parking place between the outside consumption permit area and the access that goes between Depot Square Pizzeria and the American Legion, the road that goes down behind.
and I would go a step further there, not to exceed the area of those two spots.
Stay within the lines.
So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused here. What spaces are we talking about as compared to what they're asking for in front of their?
Well, they were generally asking for two spaces.
Yeah.
I'm specifically saying not the space that's directly adjacent to Depot Square, but the two east of there.
Depot Square being the Depot Square Road that goes between the American Legion and Depot
In
Pizzeria.
Holland Place.
Is that what it's called? That's what Charlie asked.
Yeah.
What's it
Holland
called?
Place?
Holland Place, that's the road that goes to the
Holland?
parking area.
common,
Holland Place.
Commonplace.
Holland,
Holland.
Holland, like the,
Like,
Margaret
like
Holland,
wooden,
okay.
like wooden shoes?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, will you take a friendly amendment to Holland?
certainly.
All right, so the motion is to save the parking place next to Holland Place and authorize two parking places for outside consumption inside the white lines.
Right.
Is there any more discussion?
I have a question for you, if you don't mind. If we give the parking spaces for pizzeria, and then if Felino say they want one, can you deny them one?
We can deny or approve anything, but Felino's has their own
I know they do, but,
outside parking.
but
Well, I think that's more
you can't.
more reason to have an ordinance that addresses the comprehensive use of parking areas, as Lydia has been trying to discuss.
Right, because
Yes,
you have so little parking spaces.
100% agree with you, but we'll have to make that decision if it comes about.
But just, they can have the tables by the windows and rope off, just like United do, you know, the outside consumption. But taking up parking spaces on that common, when, right now, when the farmer's market's there, sometimes there's a park in the middle of the road, so it goes to the,
That's correct.
so you really should pass an ordinance saying no parklets on the common.
Well, when we do the ordinance,
That's a further
we can talk about that then.
Yeah.
So this particular thing, this year, and it's temporary, we'll see what happens next year.
Mr. Chair, call the question.
Well, without objection, I'll call the question. Does the motion need to be repeated?
No.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the outside consumption permit for Depot Pizzeria, please say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections, abstentions?
No.
There is one nay, one objection. The motion passes and the application for outside consumption for Depot Pizzeria has been approved. Next topic. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion for the
Actually,
8th of
we did
April
the
regular
Woods
meeting?
Lodge.
Approval of minutes.
The Woods Lodge, we only did
Woods Lodge.
Depot.
Oh,
There's two,
thank
It's on their
Yeah,
own
it was
property,
okay.
so that's not an issue.
so
on
the
their
second,
own
It'll be
property.
on their own
so we have a
property.
motion to approve the outside consumption for the Woods Lodge.
Yes. Oh, I
Is
make
there
a
a-
motion to approve the outside consumption for Woods Lodge.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? No, hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the outside consumption permit for the Woods Lodge, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections or abstentions? 5-0 for Depot. All right, approval of minutes for the 8th of April, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Dave motion. Is there any discussion for the minutes of 8 April 2025?
Yes. At the bottom of the first page, in paragraph A, it says, board member Petty says Ms. Sanders did not need select board authorization to create a citizen committee that can meet regularly but would not be subject to the Vermont open meeting law regarding posting agendas, meeting minutes. I just want to state clearly that I was educating Ms. Sanders about different types of committees, and I was not instructing her in which type of committee she wanted. I was inquiring about whether she wanted a select board approved and appointed committee, or if she just was gonna form a community group on her own. And I think the way it's worded makes it sound as if I was suggesting to her that she did not need select board approval and she should just go do her own thing. But I really just wanted her to know the different choices.
Oh, you did not say that.
And on page.
What should I do with that sentence then?
You could change it to, board member Petty told Ms. Sanders about two different types of citizen groups, or, that she could request that the select board appoint a committee, and then part of the reason there was a discussion is it wasn't on our agenda, so we couldn't appoint any committees that evening, so I was trying to find out whether she needed to be on a future agenda. I don't know. You could just say that I told her about two different types of committees. One, the select board appointed, and one is like a task force, like the Walkability and Accessibility Task Force, that is a citizen group. Sorry, Ken. Not able to put it into, I should have written out the suggested wording for you. And then the other one is small. On C, draft ordinance for authorizing public parking on page 3. The manager had asked us to comment on whether we thought the ordinance should include a fee. And I said that I believed that we should have a fee in the ordinance, but I did not say that $200 would be a reasonable amount. I said I did not know what would be a reasonable amount. That maybe something between $50 and a couple $100 would be a starting place for discussion. Those are my two adjustments.
I'm all set.
Don?
I'm fine, thanks.
And I would like to ask the board a question about page 5, A, XA. It says Matthew Lewis Stanley, and I don't know, am I the only one who didn't know his name was Stanley until later?
He did not announce it at the meeting.
He did not. So
He sent
it
an email the next day with his
Correct.
full name,
Yeah.
that's why I
Correct.
changed it.
Well, I think that it should be made clear that he spoke to us and we had no idea
It was Matthew
really who he
Lewis.
was. We thought, well, I remember you saying, thank you, Mr. Lewis.
So,
And he
someone
didn't
remove the
correct
Stanley,
you.
even though it's not his name.
I don't know, he emailed us the next day, so I think it's appropriate to have his
Who did
name
he
in the-
email? He
Of
didn't email?
all of us.
Yeah, the board.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, okay. That's why I asked y'all.
Good questions.
Any other adjustments or corrections to the minutes? For me, it's item C, the second sentence.
What page, Charlie?
Same page 5. Under public participation, item C, Linda, any concerns about NPD Chief Gomez? If you all remember, I was somewhat under the weather for that meeting. In fact, I wasn't even here. I'm glad to be here now. When I reviewed the recording, the comment is excluded from the concerns that Lynn had for Chief Gomez, and right after where he says a gray hoodie most days, he said, so he looks, let's see, Chief Gomez should wear the uniform the town buys him so he looks like a police chief and not a gangster off the street who's just driving cruisers around. I'd like to see that included, the language recorded out of the recording included in paragraph C.
Could you repeat that?
The recorded language said Chief Gomez should wear the uniform the town buys him so he looks like a police chief and not a gangster off the street who is just driving our cruisers around. And that would go directly after most days. And then it goes on to say, Board Member Shernock, any comments? With all those changes, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as amendments, please say so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, April 15th, 2025, special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the special meeting of April 15th, 2025, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes of April 15th, are there any objections or abstentions? The minutes of April 15th have been approved. Approval of bills. We have a motion to approve warrant 2025 and 20-25A through C for a total of $191,581.47.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm all set.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving warrant 2020-25 and 20-25A through C for a total of $191,581.47, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the warrant 2025 and 20-25A through C have been approved. Approval of warrant 20-25, this is a new document out of the general ledger, and the reason we're doing this, Jeff, is for efficiency and,
Yes, yeah, so, in the past, there was a concern just about how things were done and with the extra sheets, but yeah, so we finally were able to get a better, payroll.
I'm confused.
Did we skip this one?
Not yet, no, I don't.
I don't think so.
That's the next one up, 20.
Oh, my off?
Oh, yeah, we did,
Oh,
that's why.
thank you, Lydia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Guardian of my inefficiencies. Well, let me go back, let's have the ledger's discussion for later. Do I have approval of warrant 20-25D?
So
For a
moved.
total of, let me see, I got this right, $121,612.32.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving warrant 20-25D, do so by saying aye. Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, approval of warrant 2025-20-25D has been approved. Now, we'll do the receipt of the bi-weekly payroll through April 13th for a total of $113,615.79. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the receipt of the bi-weekly payroll through April 13th. And just a quick descriptor, this is a new way of, a new form to deliver payroll, identify the amount of payroll we've expended.
The cleaner, easier to use format.
Which was not the case when I opened it up and looked at it. I was astonished and I had to call. Is there any discussion? Having none, hearing none, all in favor of receiving the bi-weekly payroll through April 13th for a total of $113,615.79, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
No, any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the bi-weekly payroll has been received. Equipment note for the 2022 cat loader for $102,400 at 4.87%. Do I have a motion to approve the equipment note?
So moved.
Is there a second? Jeff, you wanna just describe, does anybody have any questions about it?
Yes.
All right, please.
What's this have to do with the note we passed, 20-25D?
Yeah, so that was paying off the original note, and so this is a new note for the payment on that, and it's for 2 years. So the original note was just for a year's period, and so that period ended, we have to pay those off, and then we take out a new note. So that's just the way Lori set it up. A lot of times when it's approved at town meeting, she'll just get a loan for a year, and then has to renew it when that loan comes due.
It's refinancing the loan.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to know what was going on.
Fair enough.
No, that's legit. No,
Yeah, the
that's
same question.
legit.
You did.
Yeah, but I thought I was just being dumb. So I didn't hear
Don't
that.
say those things. That's not appropriate. Any further discussion on the equipment note? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the equipment note for $102,400, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. The next question is petition to form collective bargaining unit for the Northfield ambulance part-time employees. Before the meeting began, let's see, I guess I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that, for discussion purposes,
What kind of?
Yeah, I was just hoping you were gonna say you're gonna approve anything. Yeah, just for this.
for discussion purposes, since it is on actionable part of the agenda, discuss the petition for collective bargaining unit for Northfield ambulance part-time employees.
Second?
Thank you. Just for your information, at the end of the public participation unscheduled that we had earlier in the evening, one of the donors approached and she said she supports the idea. Now, discussion.
Yes, so, as you saw from the documents, the part-time union employees have petitioned the Vermont Labor Board to unionize. And there is a standard process that has to be undertaken, and as part of that process, the Vermont Labor Negotiations or Labor Board will take in information and then make a decision about authorizing those individuals to unionize. But before that, the labor board does offer the employer / municipality to review the document and comment on the document. And as you see in that letter that was sent, there's a couple of different options that the select board can take in this regard. You know, they could file an opposition to that. They could, in general support, say that, yeah, this is a good thing to do and we support it, or there's kind of a middle road that the board can take and agree to a consent vote where there would be an actual vote. So it is a negotiation, it is contracts. After speaking with council, we determined that it is prudent for the select board to go in executive session and have a discussion like other contracts. Again, the board has gone into executive session for police contracts and the other contracts. So again, going into executive session to discuss is appropriate, and it's something that the select board has done in other contracts. So again,
With or without the ambulance?
without.
So is there opportunity to ask questions now?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I think we just need to,
Mine are gonna be very straightforward.
okay, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm trying to be helpful. I think just need to make sure we don't start talking about wages or.
No, mine won't be.
And you.
Well, from my question may provoke that, but.
But again, you've known from union contracts what we talk about. You've been a part of many, so, yeah.
So I'd just like to get a better understanding from the folks in the ambulance department, why you wanna do this.
They didn't let me, I'll just go ahead and stand, so if they want to shoot at me, they can.
Okay.
That's a very fair question, and I think it comes down to, we have for a while brought a lot of things forward. Wages is just one of them. There are many other things we feel like our voices are just not heard. We feel as a group, and we have a group of us who have signed behind this to become a body to support us as one body to speak with our select board instead of individuals. That is as simplistic as I can get.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. That's all for me.
My name is Scott Bag. 32 years old.
Scott, you might as well stand back up here. 'cause
Yes,
I got
sir.
some
Glad
questions.
to.
But, does Lydia, do you have any questions?
I don't at this time.
All right,
I have
John?
a question.
Sure.
Where does it say part-time on this?
I don't have that form in front of me. I'm sorry, I can't answer your question.
Which one?
This one,
The petition,
the petition. I don't see part-time on it anywhere.
Well, there are, essentially, they're all part-timers. And so what the exclusion, and they have made the statement, the exclusion is the one full-time person who is management, so they would not be included. So since they're all part-time employees, that's just the general term that was used, is to describe all of those persons.
Every member of the ambulance, minus our chief, are considered part-time employees of the town of Northfield.
Yeah, but the petition doesn't say part-time.
Well, so the petition, so what will have to happen is, the state will have to, and I guess primarily the state will have to determine who is eligible from, the membership. And again, the petition that was sent excludes all the part-timers, but excludes, the one full-time management person.
where does this say it in that document?
Well, item 4 lists all paramedics, AEMTs, et cetera,
Okay,
excluding the EMS chief, that's where.
all right, very good.
We'll be
That was the
specific.
question
Chief
John
Nichols.
had.
I still don't see where it says part-time.
It does not. but
Does
it's-
it say part-time because it's referring to all the employees except for Chief McCusker.
What is considered, Mr. Manager, a part-time employee?
I didn't hear you.
What is considered a part-time employee?
Less than 24, or averaging 24 hours, or 30 hours, less than 30 hours.
Anything else, Dave?
I'm good. John?
I'm fine. John? So, in this petition, under item 5, it says, does the petitioner allege that not less than 30% of employees in the proposed bargaining unit desire to be represented by the petitioner? And then the next paragraph, it says, does the petitioner allege that at least 50% plus one of the employees in the proposed bargaining unit desire to be represented by the petitioner? If so, and then it says no. So we've got one petition that says, it's not less than 30% of the employees proposed to be represented by the petitioner, it says yes. And then, does the petitioner allege that at least 50% plus one of the employees in the proposed bargaining unit desire to be represented by the petitioner, and it says no. I don't understand why, do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, I had not looked at that document, so, but I understand what you were saying.
Here, you want to see mine?
So I think, so there's been some emails going back and forth with the attorney and folks at the state. So we'll hear more, but what I gleaned from that is that the membership does have to show that there is a clear 30% of the members that desire to do this. And last I heard from the attorney that they found from the union person out of state that there is the 30%.
Way above and beyond that.
But yeah, again.
Right, so it says,
So then why
It's
does it
not
say
less.
no? There's a different requirement. Like
Yeah.
if you read on the front in this paragraph, if you are filing supporting petitions or authorization cards by persons comprising at least 50% plus one of the proposed bargaining unit, please indicate in response to question 6. Please also attach or include the supporting petition or authorization cards signed by at least 50% plus one of the persons. So if they were over 50%, they would have had to attach the list and the cards. But if they're between 30 and 50, they have to be above 30 to
how
be
did you
eligible.
figure that out?
I mean, just from reading.
And,
What?
and also, I'm being told by.
I read it 20 times and it just
Well,
didn't make sense.
I was curious about why it had those two questions, so I read it like several times.
So, and your brain kicked in where mine didn't, very well.
I mean, I assume that the state treats it differently if you've reached 50% plus
Exactly.
one, because
Yeah.
that is a very significant percentage. But you have to reach the 30% to be eligible to have the conversation.
And with our application, we were over the 30%, and then we gained additional cards after the application date. And my colleagues from out of state, as you say, that there's 50 plus one, they are referring to is to the vote. If we are authorized and then the labor board arranges a vote, we have to have 50% plus one of those that voted.
Oh, that's the vote. Okay.
Clear as mud.
Yeah.
Well, this is
lots of
definitely new
legal
territory. I mean, I've never been part of this
I've
before, so.
never been part of this either.
Nor
I don't have any objections to it, it's just, I don't wanna approve something that I don't understand.
Fair enough.
And whether I'm gonna approve it or not, but anyway, that makes it clear as mud. Thank you, Lydia, for, if I ever have any questions, I just ask you.
It's tracking.
Okay, well, for discussion, are there any other questions from the board?
No?
We are going to go into executive session with our town attorney to have this discussion about this. Are we going to make a decision tonight after the executive session, or or is that scheduled for a later time?
I'm confident that a decision will be made once the board comes back out.
So, we are going to go under the cone of silence, and we are going to empty the room, including the minute maker. We're going to have a short recess, when we do that, after we complete the agenda. We will go under the tone of silence, we will have a discussion with the town attorney, and, what will then happen is we will exit executive session and make a decision. In an open meeting, but I don't think that's gonna be on, and I doubt you guys are going to wait around.
And one of you folks can call me in the morning and I can tell you what this is.
The reason I say that is.
Yeah, they're allowed by law to wait if they want to come
My
back.
only
They're
question is,
allowed.
where would you like them to wait? That's,
Well, outside, I mean, give Jeff your
Yeah.
text.
okay,
Just give.
I'll put my jacket on and I don't mind waiting.
Right, or
I've
just
got a
give-
car, I can sit,
Okay,
I can sit and keep warm.
Give him the text and we'll text you when to come in.
Yeah, you got it.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, because we have, in addition to this, with our town attorney, we have other executive session
I understand,
stuff to discuss.
and I understand it may take a little while.
It could take a minute.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
you, are you going into executive session now or waiting until the?
No, we got some other stuff to
We
do.
gotta do a few more things. Town manager's report, board members' comments, concerns, questions, and then we're done. Then we go into executive session.
Thank you, Mary.
Mr. Manager,
Thank you.
town manager report, please, tell us what's going on.
Real quick, so I'm sure folks have seen that the contractor's working on the Main Street water line project, this week, doing, pavement cutting on Main Street, and then next week they'll, actually start removal of asphalt in anticipation of putting in, some water lines. Pine Street sidewalk project, we were finally able to pin down the contractor for a start date, so the contractor is saying that they'll start that project, May 19th. We do have a project pre-construction meeting with the contractor May 1st. Water sewer budgets, the utility commission did review a first draft of the 25-26 water sewer budgets. Didn't have any suggested changes at that meeting, but did want to have that document back before them at their next meeting in May, just so they could take a closer look at that. We are anticipating that the document that comes out of that will result in a 2.65% rate increase in water sewer rates. Street cleaning, we're fortunate we were able to get a contractor here in town to do that this past week. And it's obviously a little frustrating because with the contract, or with the water project, there's a lot of mud and a lot of dirt, but they do have a street sweeper there and they will clean the street. And they also did promise me that next Thursday and Friday, prior to Norwich graduation, they'll do the street and make things look nice, so pleased with that. Last thing, select board, buildings and facilities committee meeting met this past Wednesday to review and discuss pool building project designs. It was a very good meeting. Based on that meeting, the contractor is revising the plans, and then once they get it done, we'll bring that back to the committee. Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
comments, questions from the select board, please.
So, unfortunately, I wasn't here the day it was announced that our financial director was stepping down. So let the record know that if I was here, I would be thanking her for her service. And when is she leaving?
June 15th.
So I think it's appropriate that at that time, we recognize her for her 40 or 30 years or
38 years.
Yeah.
38 years of service.
Yeah, we're,
So I don't want the select board to be considered that we're not going to do the right thing, we are. So thank you, Lori Barofio, for your services, and we will do an appropriate thank you before you leave. Road lines, there was discussion last year regarding Union Brook. Is that on the project list this year?
It is. So we, if I could meet, so we were fortunate, we did get a sizable grant to put in some safety signs and some line striping. Yep, so that is being worked on. Yep.
Thank you to the town for having the street cleaner out early. Question then is, when are the lines gonna get painted?
So, highway foreman's been working for the last month to find someone. The person that initially was going to do it ended up going out of business because that person said he could not find insurance. So now we're working with L&D, and we're looking, Mr. Maxwell mentioned some other firms, so we're working with 2 other firms. So again, the foreman started very early on this process. So.
And then my only other comment is that I hope that we're thoughtful in our deliberations regarding an ordinance for parklets. It just can't be a Band-Aid fix. It's gotta be comprehensive, and I think it's gotta encompass use of sidewalks, use of parking spaces, what is acceptable, what isn't. We just can't. That's all I have, thank you.
Lydia?
I just wanna say, that I feel like this was a really special meeting, and there were so many people in this room from our community, and I'm really impressed with our community for showing up and caring, and there were a number of different issues we talked about, from the life-saving event at Norwich, to these difficult conversations about the values we have as a community and how we treat each other and talk to each other. And it really moved me to hear people speak, and I'm really proud of people for the most part, you know, speaking with growth and kindness and a desire to come together as a community. And at a time that feels extremely polarized in our world, I just really hope we can, I really get tearful even. Remember the goodness in each other, hold each other to a high standard of treatment, and continue to talk openly with one another, because open conversations can be very healing. So I thank you to everybody who came tonight. Thank you to this board.
John, I got a couple questions. When is Lover's Lane gonna be open again?
It should be open this week. I know that happened in Berlin and others, you know, the foremen really want to keep these messy roads as long as possible, and I've been, you know, pushing, but, you know, we'll get that open.
Okay, so the sign is still out there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, every foreman that I've worked with, there's a certain road that they just want to keep closed for as long as possible, and I get where they're coming from.
okay, when's the gravel going on Turkey Hill?
I spoke with the foreman about that, and they're scheduled to start that at the end of May and into June. They're lining that up.
Okay. And the improvements to the community room, when is that gonna get done?
So I have a local sorry, jeez. Can you hear that?
No.
It's going through my.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have an electrician coming next week to start wiring up the walls. And it's a kind of a complicated one, trying to figure out where best to put that. We didn't want to put it too far, so we're putting up a big arm and some wires, and I don't know if we get a larger contract, so that's where we're going. I'm getting a price on the tiles. The other one is, at the next meeting, in my opinion, that this desk needs to be replaced. So I'm coming with a bunch of sketches, so you folks can make the decision. I'll give you examples, but I'll let you folks make the decision. So those are so far, those are the three projects. Also, we're looking at replacing those chairs, as we've seen. A lot of those are starting to
Definitely
Has
wasn't you.
Leslie Street been in touch with you about the mural on the back wall?
We've had our last communication was probably a month and a half ago, or maybe longer, I'm sorry, and I said, hey, whenever you're ready, just let me know. So I don't mean to say this, but it's kind of in their court to get back to, but I will go back and just say, hey, just want to remind you, or we're here.
Can I say something about that, John? Would you mind?
Pardon?
Would you mind if I said something
No.
about that? The Yes Plan activity where they paint the mural happens at the end of the school year. So they would be doing the painting during Yes Plan, which is the last 2 weeks of school.
Which is
For the
about
time.
when?
What's it called?
Yes Plan. It's where the kids, they get all kinds of cool activities like mountain biking on Pay Mountain, or last year they did the mural down at Memorial Park. They've worked on the other mural, the Welcome to Northfield mural before. There's just all kinds of different, mostly fun activities that the kids can choose from and be, out of their regular coursework for 2 weeks at the end of the year. It's a great program.
And when is this though? For those of us who don't have anybody matriculating.
It's the last 2 weeks and the school year's ending mid-June. I can't remember if it's the
Okay,
18th
that's
or-
close enough, I just needed to know.
Yeah. I don't know if they are expecting us to prepare the wall though, or if they're gonna prepare the wall, so that should be figured out.
Yes.
And which section of it, like, it's probably not the whole wall, or maybe it is, I don't know.
I don't know, but there's dents and there's
Yeah,
tears and so on there, so I don't know.
yeah.
It needs to be spackled,
It's only 25 years old, right?
something like that.
Thousands of people have been through here. It looks pretty good for what it's been through. Thousands of people.
Yeah, over 1,000 years. Other than that, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Mary?
Yes, I have two things that came up tonight. Number one is that I heard that AEDs are being given away, and I want to have some, that you can't have too many. So can somebody follow up?
Can I?
Yes, sir.
Stand up, and
Yes.
doing a lot of the AED stuff. They're not being given away, I think is not with the correct, they're being rented out for, public
Oh.
events.
Well, he didn't say that, so.
So if they were having like a big public event, big family meeting, you can happily ask down, we can rent you an AED.
No, we're gonna buy them.
Okay.
We're buying them, we buy them, we've been talking about it in these facilities meetings, and, yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for clarifying that. So that's the first thing, so, no free AEDs. Okay, are we gonna join, which of these things are we gonna join? Are we gonna join welcoming and engaging communities? Are we gonna join ideal, or are we going to join both?
That probably needs to be a future agenda item.
That will have to be a future end.
Can we put that on the agenda for next time?
But Mary, I did hear that we probably need to join the welcoming communities prior to being accepted into the ideal program.
Okay,
I understood that we're gonna get some more, documentation on this too.
Well, welcoming and engaging communities is through VLCT.
Okay.
So we've received information about it
oh yeah, I
before.
think, it was like, did we have the inclusion statement? Yes, we do. Do we have welcoming and engaging communities? No, we don't, but we should get it.
Right, it's a program through VLCT.
So we should put that on the agenda for the very next time. Because I just believe that we have to do stuff when we're thinking about it, or else we'll forget.
I think that was echoed by our guest speaker.
That's all I have.
Thank you. There was 2 additional emails that were forwarded
Oh,
to
yes.
the select board supporting Chief Gomez. One, and I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up during
We
the
should have
discussion.
brought it up when
Should have
people
brought it
weren't
up,
here,
should
we
have
could have read
failed.
it out loud. I thought of it, and then I didn't write it down, and so there we are. But we have one from Barbara Stevie Balch, and we have one from Mary Richter. Yep.
Thank you very much. I have no other things. I'll entertain a motion, public participation we've had. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So we don't allow another public participation?
We've had one and it lasted quite a long time.
Alright.
Do we want to have another one?
I just feel like usually we give an opportunity at the
All
end.
right, is there anybody?
I bet everybody wants to
I
leave, but
stand corrected by board direction. Do we have anybody online that wants to make a public participation? Crickets. Anybody out here in ambulance land?
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Can the board recognize the young lady and the young gentleman, and I apologize, I didn't catch their names. But I believe one was a second grade,
Yes.
and one is a fourth grader. I would recognize their bravery coming forward, and maybe even include their statements in minutes. That was way to start a night and hear from our youth, so I ask the select board to recognize those two.
So the Ellie and the other lass, you want to recognize how?
Was the gentleman.
Stryker and
Yeah.
Thank
Naeli.
you.
Correct.
And they're, I'm sure,
Sarah's son,
there was
Stryker,
video,
and
so
the Ellie Murch. So to recognize them, do we know what we mean by that?
I don't know, the request was to have their statements included in the minutes.
You don't have to, I think you just need to be recognized. That took a lot of bravery to come forward in front of a
Well,
group this
the
big.
meeting is recorded, so it could be paraphrased.
Then that's no comment.
I agree.
Okay, Ken, you get that, those names?
I wrote them down some time ago.
It's Stryker Path and Naeli Murch. And they were the, Sarah Path was the first person to speak.
Yeah.
And then Stryker and Naeli were the second and third people. Is there any other discussion, public participation? Of course there is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry I missed your April 15th meeting. I wasn't told about it, I didn't know about it, so I didn't show up.
It's all
Well,
right, it's
the
an
18th
executive
yeah,
session anyhow.
The April 15th meeting went directly into executive session.
Okay,
We didn't, I missed your stuff, but we didn't need to be there.
And it was down in the municipal building.
that's fine.
All right,
But it was warned.
it was warned. And minutes were taken, the roll call.
It can be warned all at once, my computer don't pick it up.
Well, Albert, you need to go to the town hall every day.
I can do that.
All
I
right,
make
if
a
there's no other
motion to
discussion,
go
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session with the manager, and we will be inviting the attorney also virtually.
for personnel and contract.
For contracts, 2 contracts, actually.
When are we gonna talk about personnel stuff?
And personnel, will be part of the, let's see, personnel, I don't think we have personnel this
This is contract.
I'll explain. 2 contracts, one will involve you, the other one will not. The manager will be here for the labor issues, and then we'll excuse him, and then we'll have, an update.
Okay, that's
So I made the motion.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor of going into executive session, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections or abstentions?
I'm sure the bathroom too.
We'll have a 10-minute
Yeah, well,
break
there's 2, I'll
before
go
we begin
upstairs.
executive session. And are you gonna call?
You have to, it's up there already, cool. I should maybe sign before I go to the bathroom, so you don't just wait for me.
Warrants and
Can I sign the warrants before I go to the bathroom, so that, where are they? I just just wanna sign the warrants before I go to that kind of waiting for me. Not that I'm gonna take forever, but.
Maybe we should all sign those.
I was gonna say, how about you? I really do appreciate these sign here stickers. This would be impossible without these.
Shutting down the.
It's not Ken's first rodeo, he's done these many times.
Yeah,
Did I sign the wrong?
the lines are weird because they only provided three lines for separate members, so they have to do those manually.
Alright,
I'm trying to get
sorry.
to five. but they
I should be passing these down too. Alright, I'll have somebody's pen. Jeff, did the comments on the chat get saved? I never got to read if people were saying things in the chat, are those saved?
No.
Any meeting that I have on Teams,
Yeah.
all
I think
all
it saved the
conversations are
comments. I just
saved.
wanted to make sure we didn't miss any
Yeah, yeah.
important things that should be in the minutes or, okay.
Yes.
So who has access to this? Does anybody have access to that recording?
Yeah, it goes online.
And all the record, they cut out the porn section that one.
But the recording, is,
I don't think the chat gets saved.
okay.
Is there any way that this
If you
gotta be?
download it, you get
Yeah,
the
this seems like
video
it
and
should
you get
be
the audio separate, two documents. No.
documented.
What?
There was a whole conversation on the chat, which to me, needs to be kept for.
Okay.
So I can back and forth.
I think so, yeah, it should be.
Summarize stuff and have recording,
I know.
and then I have to put down a full